I think that I'm going to hide it somewhere by a gated star. Baby, they ain't never gonna find me. I'm a renegade. I could be the one who saved you from this hard place. We could be as one and escape. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Burns inside me. Burns inside me. Burns inside me. I won't let you down. We could have the world to ourselves, going to a place that's far, staring at the stars for hours, 'cause you're a renegade. I could be the one who saved you from this hard place. We could be as one and escape. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. I can feel it, it burns inside me.
Yeah, I lost the plot a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Good evening and welcome to Octane Online Racing Simrigs Sprint Series Season 12. We are at round 2 in sunny England. Brands Hatch is the track for today. We are currently live with Split Blue, which will be followed by Split Red. My name is JP Sonicus, and I'm joined by Josh Breen. Josh, how are we, mate?
Doing well, doing well. But yeah, Brands Hatch tonight, eh? Bit of a polarizing track. Either you love it or you hate it kind of situation.
Yeah, I think it's a Marmite track, as they would say, but it's one of those where it's the complete opposite to Paul Ricard. I love hot lapping it. I dislike racing it.
Mm.
Um, Especially in GT4s or in the M2s, it's an amazing track, but in GT3s, I don't know, they're just a little bit too big, too quick for the track, but it
Yeah,
does make for some very tight, close racing, so that's good.
yeah. It's you can just get stuck in a train, and it's basically just don't make a mistake, and you'll get through. Otherwise, it's just follow the leader. But I mean, 2 mandatory pit stops tonight could make it a bit more interesting. If you do get moved in the pits, it's gonna be so costly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pit stops in ACC being as finicky as they are, one pit stop is already a potential way to ruin a race. Now you have to do 2 perfect pit stops to make it work. So, yeah, for those unfamiliar, it is a 1-hour race with 2 mandatory pit stops within the pit window. So we could see some interesting strategies. I don't know what's your call, doing a third, or splitting it up with a longer stint and then a shorter stint at the end.
Well, I think because the lap itself is so short, I'd be leaning towards running long at the start because otherwise you run the risk of being blue flagged by the leaders. So depends on where you are in terms of like quali. But yeah, I'd probably be leaning towards running long and then doing a couple of stops near the end. But I mean, it is quite hard on tires too if it is quite a hot track. So hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's last night, apart from, well, not finishing the race, but my strat would have been 30 minutes and then 15-15.
Hmm.
Whether it would have worked or not is, of course, up for debate. But yeah, we'll see what they do. I think most of the leaders in yesterday's 2 races sort of stuck it out a little bit longer, as you said, to avoid becoming a blue flag or stuck in traffic or something like that. So certainly going to be interesting to see what people decide to do.
Absolutely, and I saw there was also, I think it was today or depending on what time zone you're in, the LFM Pro race was here too, and it takes a couple of laps for your tires to come up too. So like, I don't even know if the undercut is particularly strong here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the mid pack. That's normally where all the good battles seem to be happening. So
Yeah, if you saw in Split Yellow last night, Brigida managed to perform a very effective undercut on what was it, Mitch Hobbs. So I think if you have the pace to get some clean laps in, it could be effective. But of course, depending on the other drivers, traffic, and all kinds of other stuff that plays a role. As we see some of the first laps coming through, Maddie Lamb, customary in first position with a 22.9. So it's a pretty solid banker. And I guess the customary question to chat and to yourself, Josh, what is pole time going to be? What are we looking at?
wow, I'm thinking if he's already doing 22.9s, I'd say it would be somewhere between. I'd say I'm going to take a punt and say 24.5. It's a safe bet.
24.5, so it's
Oh,
going to
sorry,
go 2.5
22.5.
seconds slower. Okay.
22.5, sorry. It's been a long day. How about yourself? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to say a 22.3.8. That's
Ooh.
if we're going specifically, we have John in chat saying 22.3, Pat Oliver 22.7, 22.4 from Alt F4. So yeah, all in the same ballpark. I mean, Matt Lamb, as we all know, is a pretty fast driver, so certainly capable of those times. But it is a very tricky track to get a couple of clean laps in qualifying. So that's always the challenge.
Yeah, it's so short. Not a lot of free real estate up there, and I see Stacy has shot up to P2, and Mercedes isn't particularly strong here, so that's really good. First lap.
Well, people keep saying Mercedes isn't that strong here, but it looked bloody strong last night from what I saw in Split Yellow. So
Right.
as we see Joshua Whittaker there jumped into P3. Maddie Lamb has improved to a 22.6. Stacy with a 23, what is that, about 24.7, and Rob Maddox goes into P3 now ahead of Josh Whittaker. Sean Miller sitting in P5 in a McLaren. McLaren, very strong car around here, so that is good shout for Sean. And Lachlan Nichols currently in P6 in the Lambo. Not sure how strong the Lambo is here, but I don't think it is particularly strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's not probably its strongest track. I see though, Josh Vertiger is currently winning the championship. I know we've only had 2 races so far, which was Paul Ricard a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, 122 points, followed by Robert Maddox in P2 with 119, and then Matt Lamb with 105. So wonder if we'll see Matt Lamb try and make his way up to number 1 tonight, and Paul Brett, I do not believe, is racing tonight.
Paul Brett is away for work, so he is not taking part today. Vettiger will certainly be looking to improve on that qualifying, as Lachlan Nichols very nearly puts it in the wall, does well to hold on to that, but that is an invalid lap. Sean Miller coming around. Yeah, but Lamb, I think Lamb is a pretty safe shout for a fairly easy win, as Sean Miller puts it up into P2 with a 23.6. Very, very nice lap there from Ghost.
Yeah, and what do you think in terms of, because I missed our split last night, do you think we'll see any track limit drive-throughs? Because you can pick up warnings here if you're not careful.
I don't think so. You need to like really be pushing way too hard to do that. As we see, Mr. Babs here back in his beloved Bentley. He has decided to take the seriousness out of it and jump in a Bentley with a Mad Panda Merc livery on it. Looks like, which is an interesting shout. But yeah, back to his first love, the Bentley. It is such an awesome car.
It sounds so good. Like, it's so grunty. It's so distinctive.
Yeah, it's the car that sort of hooked me on ACC properly after I drove it the first time.
Right.
It's a shame it's not quite as competitive anymore, and of course it won't be a partner in the next SIO season. So it's a final farewell to the boat.
Yeah, and we see Appreciado on his lap right now. He is up on the Delta, so a few more corners to go, and currently in the top 10, but I'm sure that could change. Still 7.5 minutes of quality to go, so lots of positions still remain up for grabs, JP.
Absolutely. We see Stacey coming around the second last corner. He is about 14 up, lost a little bit on the exit there. Coming into the final corner, seems to have gotten a fairly solid exit there. Gained another 10 or so. Going forward, that's going to put him into P2, just ahead of Sean Miller, and that is a very solid time of a 23.3.
Nicely done.
So yeah, I'm not convinced about this whole Merc isn't good at Brand's narrative that I've been seeing, based on last night's results and what Stacey is able to do.
Right.
It might not be the strongest here, but it seems to be fairly competitive. I mean,
I think it's kind of just in that it's very hard to extract the pace out of it because it sort of understeers and then oversteers. It's just a challenging car on a track like this.
yeah, fair enough. As we see Barron, speaking of challenging cars in the Ferrari, we're pretty strong around here. Not its weakest track, which doesn't make a lot of sense because it's renowned for being terrible on the curbs, and you need to absolutely devour the curbs here. But he appears to be on a fairly clean lap here. This will be his first valid lap. He is on for a high 23, low 24, I would hazard a guess. Go a 24.2 there as he crosses the line. That's only good enough for P16 at the moment. He'll definitely be looking to improve on that.
So what would you be thinking, JP, if you did not actually get a decent lap in for quali? What would your strat be towards the race? Would you be trying to pit early and get some clear track and hope nobody else does, or what's the play here?
Yeah, I would definitely look at pitting as early as possible, as soon as the pit window opens. There's of course the risk of then being caught up by the leaders. But yeah, that would be the play. I would guess that would be the most effective. As we see, Convoy here, he is 6 tenths up on a 24.0. That's going to put him into the low 23s, which should be good enough for P4 lap there by Jamie Convoy in the Macca. Wow. Sean Miller has also improved. He is back into P2, nipping ahead of Stacey by just about 2/100ths. That's a fantastic lap by Sean. He is really extracting some pace out of that McLaren today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with the Macca here, but looks to be pretty quick so far. We've got a few of them in the top 5, so
Yeah, it is a very strong track for the Macca. It sort of suits the car's strength really well. The Maddox there just takes a little bit too much of the curb, loses most of that positive delta that he had. Coming second last corner, he has now lost all of that positive delta, so he will have to go around again. He certainly has a very, very low 23 in him. I've seen him do it in practice, so hopefully he can improve and spice up that battle for P2 at the moment. As you can see, there's only about 2 tenths or less than 2 tenths for quite a few drivers.
Yeah, the top 5, other than Matty Lamb, of course, very close, so it's definitely not over yet with just 4.5 minutes to go, so potentially another 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, it's Matt in the GT 2.5 class and then everybody else in the GT3s at the moment. So see
Yeah.
Barrel on here. He has improved to P5 and he's getting a nice tow from that big old boat ahead of him, but I think he might be a little bit quicker than Babsy through this middle sector and will end up losing time. So there's a nice big gap behind him. Might be a good idea to stick close to him or just back off towards the end. Get yourself another clean lap if you have enough fuel and hopefully improve.
Yeah, it's such a fine line here with like no runoff on the left side of the track. If you put your left rear into the grass and you're on the loud pedal, it can go so wrong so quickly too.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I like most about this track, and it's similar to Ulton and a couple other tracks where you're constantly on it. You have no time to relax. There's no real straights. I mean, apart from here, but it's only a couple of seconds on the straight, and then you're into a very, very highly loaded, flat out part where you just need to be on it every single second. Otherwise, you're in a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Tire width too wide, and you're on the grass and into the wall. But see Scani here rocking his new green livery, so flying the solo Lexus flag in split. This is split blue, right?
This is split blue, that's correct. As he crosses the line, it's going to be about a 24.7, which is good enough for P22.
So right in the middle of the pack, so I'm sure he'll be having some fun once the green flag flies in the rest.
Yeah, not exactly a track where the Lexus gets to shine.
But it does sound good as we go on board.
I mean, yes, it sounds good, but unfortunately, just sound doesn't make it go faster. But yeah, it's the best sounding car out of the GT3s for me personally, but not the track that really suits its driving characteristics very well here.
Yeah, I think Scani's definitely capable of getting down to a lower 24, but only 2 minutes remaining, so we'll see what he can do as he comes around that right-hander that is so easy to go wide on. And I think another thing is I hope everyone in Split Blue has practiced the boards being missing, because often they don't last all too long in the race.
Yeah, luckily it's one of those tracks where you also have a lot of the orange sort of markers on this fencing. You do have some alternate braking markers, as we see Matty Lamb has improved to a 22.5. Scani is also improving here. If he gets his final corner right, he could potentially move up about 2 positions.
Yeah.
Good enough for P21.
P20.
P20, nice. He improved enough to get ahead of Zach Malloy there, so that's a good lap by the Sloth.
As Sean Muller gets a little bit sideways.
So Sean Miller has been pipped again by Stacey. They're having a nice little ding-dong battle throughout this qualifying. Exchanging positions about 4 times now, so there's not a lot of time remaining. Most people will have 1 lap, maybe 2 laps remaining. That's an interesting place to park, but
yeah. But yeah, most of the quali looks to be set in those top 2 to P5, I guess. Still very close.
Yep, might be a case of whoever gets the last lap together could move up a couple of spots. Speaking of one of the drivers involved in that battle, he is at the back of that top sort of 6, but he certainly has a lot more time in the lap. Every time we've ticked over to him, he's been on a green delta and then made some kind of a small mistake to lose it. So certainly has a bunch of time left in that lap. He just needs to actually put it together.
Yeah, and as we've already talked about, I think the pit entry and exit and just the whole pit stop in general will be so crucial here. But the pit entry here is actually quite nasty. It's not one you want to come in too hot, because you do have to go to the right and then back to the left, and there is a wall. So
Yeah, it's also not the type of pit entry you want to take while you're in a battle, because it's so easy for somebody to try and poke a nose in or do something you're not anticipate that you're pitting, and then you get put in the wall. As he goes wide at the second last corner there, he was up by 2 tenths, so he's
Uh,
lost out on that. Jamie Convoy is improving at the moment. He's on his final lap. Can he nip it into P2? He only needs to find less than a tenth to do that.
and he's almost
Sure,
got
he's
that.
capable.
Just creeping into the 10th range in the Milkmobile. Changes down to 3rd on the corner entry, back to 4th now. See how he goes through sector 2. He's up 2 tenths, so it's looking good so far.
A little bit on the exit there, but still up a 10. Just needs to keep it nice and tidy coming to this final sector. Bit of a twitch there, but holds on to it. Doesn't really lose too much. Very good to the second last corner, but not the best exit. He's still up about a 10. Can he nail this final corner as he comes around? He hits the inside curve a little bit. That's not ideal. He's lost a little bit on the exit. Will the ACC timing suit him or go against him? He stays in P4. Not enough to improve. Very, very close at the end there.
Still a very fast lap though.
I love how the cars line up on the grid here with their acute angles that they pose at.
Looks quite odd, doesn't it?
So yeah, there we have our qualifying position set. Matty Lamb, to no one's surprise, in P1. He did only do a 22.5, so I guess that's a bit of a surprise. Maybe he's a bit washed, maybe he's having a bad day. But I kid. And we have Mr. Stacey in P2. Sean Miller in P3. That must be one of his best qualifying performances. I'm sure he'll be absolutely stoked with that.
Yeah, and I see in the mid-pack, Brad McDonald and Tom McDonald starting side by side in the 2 Ferraris, so that's kind of a bit of a coincidence there.
Yeah, well, hopefully the McDonald's boys can deliver a happy meal in this race and not have an accident.
I know Brad will be throwing the toys out of the cot if he doesn't have a good race tonight, so hopefully, I mean, it cannot go worse than it did for him in the Enduro Bathurst, so hopefully Brad will have a better start today.
Yeah, I got to know Brad slightly more intimately during the 12 hours on the weekend, so yeah, I sent him some flowers afterwards just to say thank you for a wonderful date. But yeah, it was quite the experience. For those who didn't see it, we had the Bathurst 12 hours this past weekend. Was a fantastic race. Mr. Matt Lamb and his teammates finished in 3rd position. So not a bad result for them given the strength of the field. And of course, we do have the Imola 10 hour coming up in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was such a strong field. Like, what was the cutoff for quality? Can you remember?
It was 22.4, 202.4.
Yeah, I mean, that's
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, like, it's insane. But
we go through the field here. It looks like Barrelon there, Robert Maddox, Lachlan Nichols putting that Lambo up into P7, Vettiger in P8, and then Gibbo. A couple of drivers who I'm not 100% sure. Shane McLaws, Sean Above now there, 175. I do not know, unfortunately, all the driver numbers. You see Babs there in the Mad Panda mobile. I think that's Brad McDonald's nice Ferrari. Doug Wilson in his Sistine Chapel Porsche there, Clockmobile. Some really solid liveries from the drivers in the blue here.
yeah, and we see Stockton, J-Rad. Who else do we have here? We've already, I think that's Pithbridge on our left there, and the M&M Mercedes.
Yep, I think so. As that somebody has disconnected or forgotten to press drive, I think.
Is that a start from pit situation?
Yep, I think that is the Galini, if I'm not mistaken, who has forgotten to press drive.
That's the worst.
Favorite livery for this split? That's a hard one. I mean, Convoy's Milkmobile is certainly in with a shout. McDonald's Shell livery is very nice. Who else? The Speedy Mite livery is a fantastic livery. I like the.
I quite like Appreciados. I think the maybe it's because I'm also from New Zealand, but the Kiwis on the side, it's a nice looking Aston Martin.
Yeah, the problem is when I see a Kiwi sign or something, I think of rugby, and then I immediately hate them very much. I'm not allowed by the nature of having a South African passport to say that I like anything with a Kiwi flag on it.
Right, no, that's fair. How about, I think it's Ashley Vertigo with the koala livery, right?
Yeah, that's quite nice, and I like Jake McKellar's Transformers livery as well. He had a Bumblebee on last season. This season he has an Optimus Prime, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I like it's difficult to say because you have like your legit sort of racing liveries like the Speedy Might Racing from Stacey and John Miller, and then you have the little bit more memey liveries
Yeah.
like the Audi Maniacs from Maddox and stuff like that. So it's hard to say. It depends on, I guess it depends on the mood of the day. Yeah, the fire-looking Lambo is Trikella with the Transformers livery.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then, yeah, we have the M2 with the Simrigs livery on it as well as the safety car leading them around for an outlap. They are coming around the second last corner. The grid is set. Split Blue is ready to go racing for round 2 of the Simrigs Sprint Series. We have Matt Lamb in pole position. He is followed by Chris Stacey, Sean Miller, Jamie Conboy, Alexander Barrelon, Robert Maddox, Lachlan Nichols, Joshua Whittaker, and Mr. Reed and Gibbo rounding out the top 10 for this race as the safety car has peeled off into the pit lane. Matt Lamb takes control of the grid. He will be holding them at 80 kilometers an hour. Jamie Conboy dropping back a little bit there, leaving a bit of a big gap. Not quite sure what he's doing there, but we will go green around about now. Lamb with a great start, Stacey with a good start. It looks as though Barrelon had a very slow start. Maddox able to jump him into turn 1. Maddox on the inside of Conboy there. He could potentially get P4 here if he can stay on the inside. It looks as though Miller can go up the inside of Stacey. Stacey gives him the space. They are side by side through turn 2. A couple of yellow flags in the background, but nothing too bad at the moment. Stacey defends very strongly on the inside and doesn't allow Miller to get past. But Miller has compromised his line a little bit. Can Conboy send it up the inside there? Maddox looking for some space, not given any. Miller does enough to stay ahead. Barrelon trying to get back that position he lost on the start here. He's going to have to slot in behind Maddox there. We see Nichols and Vettiger behind them, side by side, coming down the straight. Looks as though the Lambo has the legs. Can he slot in ahead? No, Vettiger very late on the brakes. Manages to, just a little bit of a touch on the nose there, but Nichols manages to keep it together. So far, so good. We have Herculini right at the back trying to catch up. Sean Miller not having the best first lap at the moment, under a lot of pressure from Conboy, but doing well to keep it together. And they come around the second last corner. So far, so good. We had a couple of incidents just there in turn 1 towards the back of the field, but overall, that is a very good start from Split Blue, and Matty Lamb has absolutely cleared off into the distance.
Yeah, no, beautiful start by Split Blue. So far, it looks like everyone has survived, and yeah, Matty Lamb has just gapped the field right now. Stacey's still in P2 with Muller not far behind.
Yeah, I think Miller is in for a long day, facing a lot of pressure from some very fast drivers behind him, so he is going to have to keep his wits about him. Not an easy track to be under so much pressure, so easy to just put a foot wrong, as you mentioned earlier. You can see here in the midfield, see a little bit of public opposition, but things have settled down a little bit now.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's sort of finding their rhythm, and yeah, nice respectable start. I think the harsher penalties implemented for lap 1 incidences is a really good change for OOR and just sim racing in general, but specifically in OOR because that's where we are right now. So we see everyone coming down the straight. That Lexus will be pushing hard down there. Probably the strong point is normally the straights for the Lexus.
Yeah, just don't ask it to take anything like a corner.
Yeah, high-speed corners are not the Lexus's bread and butter, but straights on the other hand, all day.
Yeah, slow speed corners not so great either. Mid speed, fantastic. You see a side by side there through the sheet corner. That is brave. Kidman manages to back out, and he is under pressure from Matthew Howe. Howe around the outside. How about that? Fantastic move there by the McLaren. Up into P26, I think. No, wait, that's about P24 once the leaderboard updates.
Right, yeah. But yeah, yellow flags have looked to be kept in check so far as we check in with Matty Lamb, who's down the road by almost 3 seconds already. As goes a little bit wide there, but keeps it on track, obviously. But yeah, he is flying right now.
Unless he makes a very big boo-boo by himself, I think he should be fine in this race, as it looks as though Convoy had a bit of a moment there, but seems to be okay. Miller has built a little bit of a gap to Convoy at the moment. I think Maddox will be looking to get past Convoy here and chase forward. Vettiger and Nickel side by side again. These guys are still going at it hammer and tongs. It looks as though that Lambo is just absolutely a monster in the straights.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ferrari is very strong in this middle sector.
Yeah, this is like car balancer power aside. This is a track where you've just got to. There's really no resting. Essentially, like if you stop focusing just for half a second even, like you can dip a wheel in the grass and you're in a lot of trouble. So we see two wide coming into the final corner. Plenty of racing room given by both, nicely done, but it isn't over yet as they make their way up to turn 1. The Ferrari does have the inside though, so it could be in Vettiger's favour, but look at the Lambo pulling right now, GP. And he tucks it around the outside, wow.
It seems as though he just has that straight line advantage, but Vettiger is a little bit better in some of the sort of twisty bits. And they're just having a right old ding-dong here, just trying to figure out who's going to come out ahead, but be interesting. And all this battling is allowing Barrelon and the rest of the top 6 to just pull away a little bit and taking these guys out of the battle.
Yeah, so 55 minutes in, or remaining, sorry, 5 minutes in. When do you think we'll see the first car peel off and decide to take that first pit of 2 mandatory stops?
Pit window is opening now, so I don't know if somebody's trying to run a bit of a risky strategy. They could jump in now, but the cars towards the back there, like Bertolini and I think it's Doug Wilson who is there with him. And we see John Arad getting a drive-through penalty for collision on lap 1. Did not see that incident, but it must have been a rather serious one.
Yeah.
But yeah, those cars towards the back of the grid, they're a little bit too far back to maybe pit now, because
that'd be vulnerable.
is already so far ahead.
So it's ridiculous, right? Almost out to 5 seconds already, so he's really.
It makes everybody looks a little bit slower, but Stacy is a very fast driver. As we see somebody there peel off into the pit lane, that looked like Vettiger. So he is taking that risk. I think he has the pace on Nichols in terms of just straight lap time.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, he's maybe thinking he's going to try and get some clear air. We'll see where he comes out. And maybe try and do the undercut.
I mean, even though it is Matty Lamb, this is a very Porsche strong track. And I know the Honda is okay here, but I think what else? Porsche and Aston quite strong here, but Porsche is for sure number 1.
Yeah, Porsche, I think is very strong. Honda is very strong. McLaren is one of the strongest cars here. Ferrari can be very strong here in the right hand, as we see from Barrelon there. He is really performing well. Vettiger himself is no slouch in that Ferrari, so I think once these pit stops play out, and if he is in some clean air, he's coming out of pits now, so he has very nice clean air. He can just absolutely send it on some quali laps at the moment.
Oh, and Barrelon may have just gone around JP, I believe. He is in the stand pit.
Yep, no, he is parked.
Oh dear.
Somebody forgot to inform him that he's not allowed to park there.
Yeah, so painful seeing the whole field go past as he does decide to spin around and rejoin safely, but that is the risky run. If you do undercut, you could potentially make a mistake and boom, you're back with the pack but a lap down, so that's not a good situation to be in. But Barrelon, I believe, has almost rejoined safely as we check in with Scani here coming into turn 1.
Scani all the way up to P16 at the moment, so there's been a couple of pit stops, maybe gain some from that, maybe gain some position on track, but certainly a good performance from him so far.
Yeah, I think Tom McDonald is around where he started. He was 17th and 18th with Brad McDonald, who is up to 15th. So Scani has, clawed his way up at least 3 or 4 positions. So not too bad in the Lexus. So we check in now with Barrelon to see what happened here. I think it was an unforced error.
Oh yeah, just carried too much speed there and lost the rear end. nobody else involved, nobody to blame but yourself, which makes it even more frustrating as a driver.
Mm.
We know that we do not like taking blame, we want to blame other people.
Tom McDonald really applying the pressure here to Scans, but that Lexus is looking super wide on Brands Hatch right now, and they're using all of the track, but that Ferrari will be looking to get a move done, so it's just going to be whether Scani can maintain his composure for now, but so far so good by Scans.
Have to be honest, from what we saw with Nichols and Whittaker in the Ferrari versus the Lambo, I can't exactly see that Ferrari getting past the Lexus unless he makes a rather big mistake.
Yes, no, absolutely. So we see now Sean Bubner in P9, and he is not far behind Gibbo. So BMW, Aston, and then Babs in the Bentley.
But now definitely one of those drivers who has come a long way in the last couple of seasons, just steadily improving, got some new gear and kept on improving. I mean, he's part of our team, and I think he's one of those who just doesn't practice enough. If he practices enough, he will consistently be in that top 8, I think. He certainly has the pace to do it. But performing very well so far. He's gained 2 positions from the start of the race.
So we're on board now with Babs and listening to that Bentley purr through Sector 2, tucked in behind the Aston of Ashley Whittaker. So not much he can do at the moment, but he is on the hunt as he gets a little bit crossed up through there, but catches it.
Babsy is still getting used to sitting on the right-hand side of the car at the moment. He was complaining about that today, so hopefully he's figured out which side of the car he's on and can judge the close calls well enough.
And the Bentley, it has a really cool steering wheel in my opinion. Like, it's simple, but it's very, I don't know, I think it looks good. Nice big emblem in the middle.
It doesn't look as good as that Fanatec Bentley wheel that you get, but
yeah, with the circle and the LED in the
Yeah.
middle. Yeah, that's so cool, hey?
unfortunately it costs about the same as a real team. It's a bit of a problem, but as we see, is that Appreciado having a little look at Babs after Babs had a bit of a moment there coming out of turn 1, but nothing doing at the moment. We have Reed right at the front of this back. I think this is the type of sort of battle group that will be decided by pit stops. Speaking of battle groups, these 3 guys have been going at it hammer and tongs. Miller keeping his cool so far, having a fantastic race in P3 in that McLaren. He'll certainly be happy with his performance in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was just checking now, only 4 people have opted to go for that early pit 1 strategy, so seems like everybody has, for the most part, decided to stay out for a little bit longer at least. So when we hit the 40-minute mark, or 20-minute mark, which means 40 minutes remaining, we'll be at the third.
Lacey has got an accident as well, I think.
Oh no. So I wonder if we'll see people peeling in and doing the third strategy you're talking about, GP.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see, but I think that has put Miller up into P2 at the moment. Yeah, as we see Stacey there. Oh, just touching the last blade of grass on the left-hand side there. Keeps it out of the wall for the most part. A little bit of an impact there, but I don't think it'll be an enormous amount of damage. But it has cost him quite a few positions and quite a lot of time.
So and track position.
And now he is under the pressure from Lachlan Nichols as well. So things have gone from pretty good to pretty poor in the span of about 1 lap.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Lambo allegedly not being particularly strong here, Lachlan Nichols is making it look pretty racy right now.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with a Lambo because everybody who drives a Lambo loves it, but keeps telling everybody how shit it is. So it's really hard to tell if it's good or not. But yeah, it seems as though he certainly has a lot of speed advantage over that Merc at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if Stacey will decide to repair the damage, or he...
I would say not. It looked all side damage, I would imagine. So it might be 4 or 5 seconds, but I don't think it would be worth the sacrifice of track position unless he's like getting noticeable over or understeer perhaps.
Yeah, I guess it'll take him a couple of laps to decide whether the car is good enough to justify repairing it. I mean, some of the cars handle damage a lot better than others. The Bentley and the Aston can take 10-15 seconds of damage and still perform pretty well. And other cars like the McLaren, you just sort of sneeze inside the car and it goes 4 seconds. So yeah, it's just up to the driver to decide what he wants to compromise.
Yeah, the Lexus is kind of it's a little bit weird. You can get 10 seconds of damage on the front, and it's no more understeery because I mean it's already quite understeery. So in the high speed corners at least, it's just a few tenths a lap slower. So
Yeah, we noticed that the Bathurst in the BMW as well, with front damage, the car was absolutely fine, but we got one hit from behind, which was about 5 seconds of damage, and the car was nearly undrivable. So yeah, I guess it depends on what gets damaged and how much it will affect the car. But yeah, this little battle group here of Reed, Gibbons, Bubnow, Vetiga, Bab, and Apreciado, all just sticking not quite nose to tail, but close enough to capitalize on any mistakes from a driver ahead. So it'll be interesting to see who out of this group decides to dive into the pit lane first.
yeah, it's a little five-way battle as it is right now. But going back to Bathurst, I've heard a lot of people said after doing it, they who opted to go the BOP tour sort of route, a lot of people weren't a fan of the Mercedes in terms of taking it for the race, and said they probably won't be doing that again.
Yeah, from what I understood, I've driven it there once, a couple of months ago when we did like a fun race there and everybody drove the Merc. And it was rapid, but it was a freaking handful across the mountain.
Yeah, I think it's very setup dependent.
Yeah, I mean, I just used some random setup that we had in our Discord, so whether it was good or not, question. But we see Robert Maddox up the inside here of Convoy. Will they give each other space? A very tricky corner to go side by side. Convoy not too fast on the apex corner, and Maddox able to slot in ahead. I think the McLaren will have to speed down the straight to get back at him. Makes him big in his mirrors, but not quite close enough to do anything. And Maddox gains the position. Now it's up to Maddox to chase down Miller and see if he can maybe get something done to get him to P2 there.
Yeah, and Matty Lamb 15 seconds down the road right now, so I mean this one's, as long as he just keeps his nose clean and avoids all the back markers, he'll inevitably encounter this one. Could be in the books already for Matty Lamb.
He's already encountering some back markers, so he started dealing with it already. And I think he'll be spending the rest of the race dealing with back markers, so hopefully everybody can keep their wits about them. Quite a tricky track to let people through as well. But yeah, let's hope that he doesn't get as affected as we saw last night. Can happen, but it's just one of those things, it's part of racing.
Yeah, and it's, I was just going to say,
wide again.
It's we'll switch cars now, but yeah, Lachlan Nichols still going strong in the Lambo up to P6, and Bubnow P9, Bettiger and Babs. But Brad McDonald,
Apreciado in the pits, so he is the first one out of that sort of battle pack for P7 down to decide to dive into the pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out, and when those pit stops play out, how things work out for the first one to bite the bullet.
yeah, and I mean, I wonder if many people have taken a decent amount of fuel at the start to give them more flexibility with their strategy. The option to run long if they do actually have clear track. You see Tom McDonald is tucked in there behind Wilson, so he is about where he started, a couple of positions up, but that isn't taking it into account that some people in front may have pitted, so solid effort by Tom so far.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well. He's had some bad luck in previous races with some incidents and stuff like that, so hopefully he can keep the nose clean and have a good result here. As we see, this little group is dealing with some back markers. I think McKellar there is a car that has pitted already in the Lambo, and Rowe up ahead is 4th position, and he's not looking particularly speedy at the moment. We see McDonald there try to go to the outside for turn 1. Not an easy place to make that do, but he sets up the little switchback, very nearly perfectly set it up, but unfortunately Wilson parked the car perfectly on the apex. Really compromised McDonald.
Wow, that was a close one, holy. And not far behind McDonald, I believe Scarns is trying to catch up to this 4-car pack at the moment, so could be an angry train of 5 soon. And we see McDonald does shoot up the inside of that Lambo.
Yeah, as McKellar, he's in that frustrating position where you're not necessarily slower than the cars ahead, but you can't stay ahead of him.
Mhm.
And that's, as we discussed earlier, that's the risk of having that early pit stop, is you get caught up like that. As Convoy is back ahead of Maddox again, and right back onto the tail of Miller. So I'm wondering if Maddox maybe had a little go at Miller and compromised himself, or just a random mistake somewhere else. But anyway, the battle for P2 commences with Convoy right on the tail of Miller here, with about 20 minutes gone in the race now.
Yeah, it's such a narrow little track. Like, I mean, you can get passes done, but there's not many good places to go too wide where it doesn't end badly.
Nah, it's like, I think the move that McDonald tried to set up on Wilson there is really the best move you can try and pull here. But if the car ahead is smart enough to just park on the apex like Wilson did there, then there's nothing you can do if you're the car behind. So
I'd say, I mean, it's obviously depending on what car you're in, but I would be trying to set up a nice exit for this corner, as we see Maddox slams it down the inside, but he tucks it in and makes the apex cleanly, so...
Oh, where's Convoy?
Oh,
I
and...
think Convoy braked on the grass there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Either way, Maddox got the position, I believe.
Convoy lost out to Stacy and Nichols as well, who have gotten back past him. So, bit of a moment there for Convoy. Unfortunately, he was doing very well up until that point.
Yeah, still plenty of time to go though, 40 minutes. I'm sure he'll get his head down and keep pushing, but yeah, he'll be a little bit dirty at himself after that. But one wheel on the grass on the brakes, and that's what happens.
Yep, and it's so easy to do here as well. It's just, there's no compromise. We get a replay here. Came out of turn 3, Maddox right on him. Looks like Convoy just...
Oh.
I think he turned off his car.
Oh no. Ah, yeah, and in ACC you have to park it to restart the ignition, so yeah, I'd say that's just a misclick, unfortunately, but luckily he sorted it out pretty quickly, but oh, that's painful.
That is why you don't bind your ignition key on a button that you can press easily.
Yep. I mean, if it was going to happen anywhere on the track, that's probably one of the better spots for it to happen though.
Yeah, but can you imagine if Maddox wasn't on the inside, right behind him, and the car just kept on slowing? It could have ended in tears there, but...
no brake lights
luckily,
on either. Just...
Yeah, exactly. Luckily worked out okay there for everybody involved.
Yeah, as we look back now from the rear wing of Gibbo's car, currently P6, yet to serve any mandatory stops, as we look at the front splitter there of Sean Bubnow. Looks to be closing the gap. A little bit of rubber banding here, just ACC things, but not close enough for a move. And we see behind him is Babs in apparently the Panda Bentley, but to me it almost looks more like a cow. I think that's possibly just because of the panel design of the Bentley, perhaps. It's quite a...
I think it's just a livery bug, because he had the Mad Panda livery on the Merc and he switched to the Bentley.
Oh, right. So it's not...
They just have applied the... somebody had parked on the inside there. That looked like Lachlan Nichols, I think.
Yeah.
He wasn't parked on the inside of the third last corner, I'm not sure. It certainly looked like a green Lambo. Sean Miller has decided to dive into the pit lane. That might be a pretty smart call at this stage of the race.
Yeah, so Babs going from Mad Panda to potentially Mad Cow. So...
boo. I mean boo.
Bad puns aside, and back to the race, we see Sean making it around turn 2 there nicely.
Yes, we see Sean Miller there in pit lane. So he is the first of the real top 5 there who decided to dive into the pit lane. Currently, Joshua Vettiger is the leading runner who has completed a pit stop. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Miller, because he pitted very early to get that clean air. Miller is moving. Vettiger comes around the final corner. I think Miller should be comfortably ahead. But Vettiger was in a battle with the cars for around P6, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he may have just pulled a bit of a sneaky here and undercut about 3 or 4 cars.
Right, and I was checking, and it looks as though almost not quite, but getting close to half the field has so far taken 1 mandatory stop of 2 JP. So
look at that Mad lapping Miller after Miller doing his first pit stop. So yeah, that was just shows you how fast Lamb has been driving so far today.
Yeah, I mean the good thing is it's just the one car. There's only one alien in a Porsche here tonight, unfortunately, Paul Brett, as you said, couldn't make it due to work. So,
I
not
do
too much
love
blue flag yielding.
Michael Babb's team name. The HMA is brr. So yeah, let's see who decides to dive into pit lane next. We see Lachlan Nichols and Millwood currently serving their first mandatory pit stop. Of course, for those who are unaware, you will see a little orange sort of board next to the driver's name with a 2 or a 1 in it. It will turn green when they have performed both of their mandatory pit stops. As we see Sean Hards with a drive-through for causing a collision on lap 12. Didn't get to see that incident, but I'm imagining it wasn't a good one.
Yeah, stewards obviously weren't too happy about what went on there, but that is what happens sometimes in close racing on tracks like these. See Vidiger coming around, and I think that is Thurkalini in a nice looking livery there. I quite enjoy that one actually.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones on the grid. As we see Matt Lamb dives into the pit lane. Gibbo peels off into the pit lane. Bub now very nearly into the back of the cowmobile, and managed to keep it out of there. Yeah, this is where the strategy starts getting into it. The tire wear after 25 minutes is not too bad, but it's starting to affect pace. It'll be interesting to see how long Bub now and Babs decide to stay out before they react to Gibbo doing the pit stop.
Yeah, and Bab's just breathing down the neck of Bub now, not giving him really any chance to breathe. So that blowtorch is on pretty hot right now, as we see Babs gets a little bit close, but quite a good exit there. I think it might have been a bad exit by Bub now, as Babs looks to be driving around the outside. Oh, a couple wheels on the grass, but keeps it on track. And I think he might get this move done, depending on how nice Bub now is, and he does tuck in behind. So good move and good exit out of the preceding corner there by Babs.
Yeah, they'll be in voice chat as well, discussing with each other who's going to back out, having a negotiation as they go down the straight. I think it seems as though Babsy won out on that one, but yeah, Noski or Bubna there knowing it's not worth battling it too hard when he's made the mistake and doing the smart thing and backing out of it.
And I think we just saw, was it Pethybridge was in the pit lane in his M&M Mercedes, so he is serving one of his mandatory stops.
Maddox dives into the pit lane, so he reacts to who was in P2 Miller. So he is in that battle for Miller and Convoy. So where is Miller at the moment? He is P12.
P12.
Where's
Yeah.
Convoy? He's probably a couple of positions as well.
We're checking. He is way down in P24, JP.
Huh, okay. Did he have an absolutely terrible pit stop or something? I'm assuming, maybe. But I'm sure Miller won't be complaining about that. That's one less driver breathing down his neck. Maddox is moving. Maddox is going to be well clear of Sean Miller here. So the overcut has definitely worked for him, as you saw. Miller getting lapped by Lamb a couple of laps ago, so he may have cost him a couple of seconds. I don't think it cost him quite this much. I think that Miller had a pretty poor stop because he is behind Nichols as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, great job drive tonight so far by the Lambo and P10's Lachlan Nichols. And Maddox and P9 not too far ahead. 18 laps so far though, so they are pressing on.
Yeah, we see Benjamin in chat asking Stacey to pit early so a Bentley can lead a race. I mean, that appears to be the only way it can lead a race at the moment in ACC, but yeah, that would be a nice sight.
He has the fuel tank to do it. The Bentley is, it might be thirsty, but I believe it also has a pretty hefty tank to hold all that fuel.
It's
See
actually
Matt Lamb
pretty good on fuel. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, with such a short track too, I know the Honda and a few other cars, they're about 2.3 to 2.4 per lap. So, I mean, you can fit a lot of laps worth of fuel in a car here. God forbid we ever have an Enduro and OOR, but thankfully not on the 2023 calendar.
Yeah, no, that as much as I like hot lapping Brands Hatch, I do not want to spend more than an hour going around here.
Absolutely not.
Velasquez. with the stuff? Are we doing something?
I don't know. As you see Gunther Rowe there in his orange BMW P16, and he is just behind Reed and Wilson. Reed looking to get a move done on this Porsche, but not quite close enough heading into turn 1. And apparently race control is saying old message is old, so thank you there, race control.
Noted. George Cook asking in chat, what is the fastest lap so far? I think landed a 22.9 or 22.8 earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Whether he went faster than that later. That was the one that popped up, but I'm not sure if he improved on that and maybe we missed it.
So far it is a 122.9 flat, so pretty quick.
That's fairly quick.
What was this quali lap? I can't remember.
22.575, I think.
Right, so
last night we saw, I think the fastest lap was 2.5 and a 22.6 in the race, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see how close you can get to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite nice conditions. It's probably a little on the warmer side to be absolutely flying out the hot laps. 29 track temp and 22 air, so plenty of sun as well.
Brands Hatch versus Zolder versus Zandvoort for endurance. Zolder all day, every day.
100%. Oh, I'm not looking forward to Zandvoort. It's such a horrible track. And I believe it is on the 2023 calendar, so...
Yeah, I don't mind Zandvoort that much, but it's a bit of a meh track in my, it's like a D
It's gotta be
tier.
interesting. Like, that final corner when your tyres start to wear is horrible. So in an endurance race, you're really gonna have to be quite mindful of that. As we see Stacy is, where is Stacy champion? So he did have that little off-track excursion.
We are halfway through, not over yet.
It says P1, so he mustn't have... Yeah, he hasn't taken a stop yet. I was looking lower and I was like, surely he's not that low. But yeah, he just hasn't taken any pit stops yet, as has Babs. So the two remaining drivers yet to serve one of their two mandatory stops so far.
Yeah, Bob now and McDonald serving theirs at the moment. So yeah, a couple of, as you said, only two more drivers. Oh, Triccolini as well still hasn't served any of his pit stops, but of course he started from pit lane like a real Chad. But yeah, Matt Lamb will retake the lead when the two drivers ahead take their first pit stops. We shall see how this first round of pit stops has played out in terms of strategy and track position.
Yeah, and it's like you can run long and you won't have the issue of being blue flagged, but you will have to deal with drivers who do need to yield to you, which can almost cost you equally as much time depending on how kind they are. So.
Absolutely, and especially with such a tricky track where there's, like if you're in the middle track, that's very difficult to let somebody go really. So yeah. Pit in Piazzolda is dangerous. Yeah, pit in Piazzolda is dangerous, but not too bad. Oh, I say that after we got absolutely defeated by a blue flag when we were trying to pit. So yes, it is quite dangerous. I would say, I agree.
I see Brad McDonald in the top 10, P9 after that pit stop, so he's doing really well, and Tom McDonald in P16, so still hovering around where he started, but a great drive nonetheless.
Brad McDonald really making his way forward, you know, he's pushed, but he was P17 early in the race, or P15, so he's gained quite a few positions in this first round of pit stops.
Yeah, only just over the halfway mark, so plenty of time for him to make a mistake, but, I mean, so far...
That's so a very positive way of looking at it. There's more than enough time for him to do this.
After Bathurst JP.
That's fair, that's fair. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think can we request race control for maybe a competition sort of safety car here? Just until the Bentley is on his pit stop, and then it can come out again. So we see Zach Malloy there going very slowly in the second last corner. A couple of other cars getting involved in that as well. Hopefully not too many.
Is that Appreciato maybe?
Could be.
Hard to say. J-Rad in front of Babs right now.
Yeah,
well, that's
Appreciato. He's a very broken car at the moment.
Oof.
I think he may have gotten taken out by a rather rough rejoin there, so we should get a replay of that too.
Yeah, that's a shame for Appreciato. So we check in with Kieran Reid now, who I believe that was also an All Blacks name at some
Yeah,
point.
but that was a REID.
Right, right.
A very, very, very successful winning captain. So hopefully Mr. Reid here can replicate some of those results. He's not currently in the hunt for one, but definitely not having a bad race so far.
He's knocking on the door of the top 10 as we go back to the replay to see what happened here to Preciado. And he goes a little bit wide by himself, manages to save it, and then that tree is annoying, but it looks like just a nasty door play. And then does he get collected? I think yes. Oh, and nowhere for Malloy to go. So
yeah, I think Malloy came through there full tilt, not anticipating a car being parked in the middle of the corner. So
yeah, I mean it would have been completely blind, and I think in hindsight maybe it would have been better for Appreciato to just reverse off the track there, but very hard in the heat of the moment. So unlucky for both drivers.
yeah, it's it's whatever you do, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Hold your brakes and you're in the middle of the road, and then people blame you for being in the middle of the road and go the wrong way.
On the line, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, unfortunate there for both of them getting involved in that, but I think Appreciato's day is over. Hopefully Malloy can keep going and still maybe get something from the face, although he would have taken a severe amount of damage.
He might just have to take that second pit stop a lot earlier than anticipated and just sort of swallow his pride and have a few blue flags, but finish the race at least and salvage some points.
In some other news, the Bentley has officially been overtaken for the lead. It is now not B1 anymore. Sad Bentley noises.
I was going to say, is Bab still, he hasn't pitted, but Matt Lamb's just caught a whole lap already, but not quite.
No, not yet. Still, just give him a couple of minutes more. Should be there soon.
See Gibbo here in P8, not far behind Vittiger.
So Nichols has gained quite a lot through these pit stops. I mean, he's up into P3 now, Maddox in P2. Ooh, Michael Babb speeding in the pit lane. I think that is what that stop go 30 is for, so that will get converted to a 10-second penalty, but that is a very, very silly move from Babs there.
Very costly too on this track.
Yeah, well, let's see, stayed ahead of Bab now there, but it looks as though Brad McDonald has pipped both of them through the pit stop, so he has had an absolute stonker of a really moving forward.
And if Babs does have the pace, maybe if you are Brad, do you just let him through because he has that penalty? Is he likely to make up 10 seconds in 24 minutes with another pit stop remaining? Probably not.
Well, the question is Babs much faster than Brad McDonald? I'm not sure, because McDonald's pace has been phenomenal throughout this middle fence.
Yeah, I'll check what his fastest lap was. Just give me 1 minute.
Really pushing hard on this outlap. He's pushing the limits as far as he can, but staying safe for the time being. I don't think McDonald's having a very solid lap, so...
Yeah, I'm just looking, and his best lap was actually his last lap, so it was a 24.397. Okay, so maybe he's been more consistent than anything, which is very important in a track like this.
Yeah, he may have just been sort of fortunate in terms of no traffic and just clean lapping, and definitely made it work so far. You see Gamepad Lad saying his long-time buddy speeding in the pit lane. He certainly kicked some good results to the curb by just having a bit of a boo-boo. But yeah, it's so easy to do here, just mistiming your pit entry, not limited, not engaging. It's happened to us at Bathurst where you think the limiter is engaged and then it just says nope, and you're doing 70 kilometers an hour in the pit lane. So yeah, as we see race control confirming there, Maddox and Nichols started P6 and 7. Of course, Maddox had that bullet of a start moving up into P4 from the first lap, and
a drive through for Malloy too, JP, for that incident perhaps?
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen anything pop up yet, but it might be for that, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So his day goes from bad to worse, and it does look as though he has obviously pitted and repaired the car because it doesn't look to be carrying any front damage anymore. We see Jamie Convoy and P15 on a bit of a recovery drive.
I still don't know what happened to Jamie Convoy. Did he just absolutely fluff his pit stop or something? I know he turned off the car, but he only lost 2 positions from that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he did it again.
I mean,
You never know.
Is he that dumb? I don't think he is. I want to give him more credit than that. At least.
So we see.
Steve Lewis, he was one of the drivers who was involved in the lap 1 incident. I saw 959 going slowly after turn 1, so he is on a pretty good recovery so far. Of course, a couple of cars behind him have completed all their pit stops. Currently, Doug Wilson is the leading car that has performed all their pit stops. So, yeah, still a lot to play out here.
Yeah, and it can be really potentially frustrating if you are fighting for position, but the car in front has yet to serve another pit stop because, like, they are entitled to the track, and you are fighting for position. But I mean, they may as well be a back marker, but they're technically not. It's not a fun thing to sort of deal with when you are the car behind.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things where you, as the car behind, you're like, why does this guy not just get out of my way? But he doesn't
Right.
have to. But yeah, I think we received an answer to your question before the race of will we see any drive-throughs for track limits, as Zach Malloy's
Oh no.
penalty is for track limits. So that is that's good going in 40 minutes, getting 4 warnings. So,
Yeah.
hopefully he still has 20 minutes remaining, and based on this race so far, that's enough for him to get another couple of warnings.
Surely
Dial
not.
back a little bit.
So we see Vettiger in the pits here, serving his second stop with just 20 minutes remaining. So he looks to have portioned it out into thirds, and Sean Muller still up in P4.
So
A little
Vettiger
bit behind
he
Mitchell.
finished his long stint because he pitted on 10 minutes.
Right.
He's towards the end of a 30-minute stint, and he'll be looking to go even faster in his final stint. Sean Miller behind a blue flag car here of the Nissan GTR. Brick, the Godzilla, of course, also no longer part of the SRO season from the 2023 year.
Yeah, there seems to be, at least in ACC, more cars being somewhat retired and not enough being replaced. So it's a shame.
Yeah, well, we have a couple of new cars coming in, and of course the McLaren 720 Evo was just announced yesterday.
Right.
So
oh, that's exciting. I
maybe
haven't heard that.
maybe another car that could potentially come to ACC. Yeah, be interesting as we pre-confirm cars coming this year, and I guess
Sean Muller was telling me, as we see Appreciado stop go 30 for dangerous driving on lap 22. So I think he had retired anyway, right? But that's a pretty harsh penalty. Yeah, but seeing as he has decided to park it for the remainder of the night, I don't think it will really have any effect on positions for everyone else. But back to cars, as we see Brad McDonald coming around turn 2 with Babs still right behind him. I was talking to Sean Muller at one point when we were in the comms booth for the 12 hour, and he was saying there's going to be a new Lexus.
well,
I had a
Toyota coming out, yeah.
Yeah, and I had a quick Google of it, and it kind of looks a little bit like an AMG from the side of it.
That was the first comments that most people made when it was announced as well. It does have that sort of long nose profile with a short arse, and but it looks quite nice though.
Very different from the RCF, and obviously not like the LFA either. So, I mean, I would love an LFA GT3 car, but I mean that's never going to happen.
I mean, I would just love an LFA in my driveway, but that's also never going to happen. So.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's I mean, there's as we know, the Lambo is confirmed, the new Ferrari 296 is confirmed, and of course the stupid Porsche is confirmed as well.
Yeah. What about Corvette? That would be a nice addition.
I mean, that should be in the 2024 calendar, I think. But the question is, will ACC still be supported by Kunos?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had any real content. And it's not a lot of transparency from the developers either, so it's a bit hard to know exactly what to expect. But
saying not a lot of transparency is about as nice as you can be about it. We get a little view there of the
thank you, man.
The AMG from Wish.
And
I mean, it does look bloody nice.
I like it. Yeah, it's kind of, it has a little bit of a Nissan vibe towards the front. Not as in like the GTR, but like other sort of like, is it 240?
What it's based on, actually, that's the question.
AMG from Wish, 10 out of 10. Thank you, Race Control. But yeah, no, it does. If it looked anything sort of like that, I'd be more than happy to drive that. It looks cool in the RCF. I'd be curious to what it will sound like more than anything.
Yeah, the problem is there's 3 new cars coming and they're all like MR or, well, I mean the Porsche is RR, but I'm a bit of a FR aficionado. I'm not a big fan of the MR cars.
Right.
Would be nice if there's some new MR or FR cars coming at some stage. Not that there's been any announced, so that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and I see. Oh no! And there's a bit of contact by Brad and Gibbo there. I think Gibbo was trying to peel off to the pits, and Brad just didn't notice until too late. So that's a shame for both. So Brad might serve his pit now too, I think.
Maybe you can just wait in the pit lane for the penalty and just serve that as well, because that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
so
As
unfortunate
we were
with
saying
both
earlier,
drivers.
it is such a dangerous pit entry if you're in a battle.
So I don't know if there was a poll in chat if Brad McDonald was going to make a mistake, but it seems as though he has made quite a big one. So I
don't
wonder
think
what.
it's not worth having a poll when it's going to be 150 years. It's more a statement than a poll. So.
Yeah, yeah, that's a shame. I'm sure he'll get a little bit of a slap over the knuckles from the stewards for that one. Unintentional, but
Yeah, but Gibbo was going very slowly there, trying to come into the pit lane. So very difficult to judge if you're the car behind. But at the end of the day, in racing, it is still your responsibility to keep it safe when you're behind. So really unfortunate there all around.
I know a lot of people, especially BMW drivers, don't use them. But if I'm pitting, quite often I'll just chuck on the indicator because it's bound easily to reach on my wheel and just yeah, use that as a way to sort of signal my intentions. As we see, Mel's is showing us that must be the Evo GP.
That is the Evo, yeah. It's the one that was launched at Brands Hatch, as we can see, as Game Bad Lad pointed out as well. So apparently it's just a couple of sort of aero tweaks to it and some front suspension stuff and a couple of other, not a huge change to it, but
Right.
yeah, hopefully it keeps it competitive for another couple of years. I mean, it's only been competing for, what, 3 or 4 years, so...
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against, because it's quite a nice looking car, and I mean it was decent. It's still decent-ish, but for me the off-putting thing is the sound. I just cannot.
Yeah, it sounds awful, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not for me.
Like a very high-powered vacuum cleaner.
So you see a rejoin there from J-Red.
Keeps it out of the way at least, so Convoy not too affected. Convoy back into P5, but of course a couple of cars performing pit stops and stuff like that, so the field still shaking out. Sean Miller and Stacey coming out of the pit lane together. Stacey is ahead, so Miller's lost another position there, I think, to Stacey, but still in the top 5 net at the moment.
As we see Gunther Rowe still making his way through the mid-pack, I think it was, and Malloy right behind Pethy, so they have served their 2 mandatory pit stops. As we see Malloy sends it up the inside, and
he gets pushed.
a little bit of Morse code on the back bumper from Pethy just to let him know, hey, I didn't turn in on you there, and I think wise track awareness there by Pethy. He was quite generous there.
Yeah, I was lucky with ACC physics that Malloy's rear-ended lose traction there, but so far. 2017, 6 years already. Okay, no, fair enough. That's a bit longer than I thought it was 2018. But
someone just got disqualified for speeding pit lane, but I think race control's already onto that.
Yep, well, there's nothing. Once you're disqualified, you're stopped into pit lane, so you're losing a couple of laps if you do that.
It was Lawrence, which is a shame because I think he might have been leading in the M class, so that's a real shame. He must have, I don't know if he just didn't use his pit limiter or he just came in way too hard, because I think you have to be 100 kilometers for that to actually happen.
Yeah, well, he's managed to do it, so accomplishment, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, but yeah, I mean, McLaren, they don't really, the 720 isn't in production anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And their new GT4 is based on the Artura, which whether they can convert that into a GT3, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they're such a big name in motorsport that you you would imagine they have something in the works as a new GT4 competitor for the next couple of years. Especially seeing the growth of GT3 racing now that the GTE class has been sort of being disbanded. You would think that motor sport manufacturers would want to get in on that.
Yeah, definitely. So we see Matt Lamb is just running his own race at this point, JP.
Yeah, I mean, just Matt Lamb doing Matt Lamb things, unfortunately. He normally has a Paul Britt to keep him honest, but he's not here today, and nobody else in this split really quite on Lamb's level. He is at a very, very high alien level, so no disgrace to anybody else in this split. It's just how fast this man is.
Exactly. And we are off to for sprints. Is it Mazzano next week, I think?
Yeah,
Am I right?
will be Mazzano for a mini enduro, so 90 minutes with no mandatory pit stops.
Right, and what's the Porsche like around there? I imagine it's pretty strong as it is everywhere, but
I think it's good, but it's not its strongest track, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a bit sort of shoddy down the back, not straight.
because it would, I'd say most people would be running max wing there, no?
Generally, I think people run max wing there. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
I mean, it's such, especially with that first and final sector, you need all the downforce you can get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really not 100% sure on the sort of BOP there, what cars perform well, which cars don't. But yeah, 90 minutes, and you don't technically have to stop if you don't want to, although I don't think any cars can do a 90-minute stint on a tank of fuel. So yeah, the mini enduros are a great little addition to OR for the last couple of seasons. Really,
The
spices
Bathurst
things
one
up a
was
little
so
bit.
much fun.
Yeah,
I think, was that last season, yeah? Or was that Silverstone? I can't remember now.
yeah. Last season was Silverstone. Previous season was no,
Right.
sorry. Last season was it was the two pits. Yeah, I don't know. There's too many races.
As we see Vidiger tucked in here behind Gunther Rose, so currently 14 for Gunther, and as we can see, almost everyone now has served both mandatory pit stops with only 5 minutes remaining on the pit window and 9.5 minutes in the race. So we see Gunther goes a bit wide there, but he joins just in front of Scani and maintains the inside line, but Scan's just showing the nose, letting him know he is in his mirrors, but not quite close enough to get a move into the final corner, which isn't probably the best place to pass either, as we see Scans gets it crossed up. But is he going to just drive around the BMW? Maybe not quite, but he's definitely keeping him honest, JP.
Yeah, no, definitely. Rowe placing the car very intelligently there, making Scania work on the outside there. Scania has had a great race up to P16. So after a bit of a shoddy qualifying performance, he's really moved forward well in the race here. Get a replay
great
here.
job.
Who's
Oh no. Who was that?
sure
Was
the
that
deliveries.
Vidiger and... Is that Vidiger? No, that's not a
Looks like,
Ferrari.
no, that's Steve Lewis. And who's the Porsche? Oh, that's a hard hit on the Ferrari there. So Horsel and Lewis coming together there. That's a tough one as well. I mean, Lewis was losing it on exits. Horsel had a good exit and just drove into the back of him. 10-second penalty for Brad McDonald. That is a fair cop. I mean, can't really say too much about that. Just one of those incidents that do happen.
Shame for both drivers, and they were both having awesome races, so unlucky, but what can you do other than use your indicators?
Yeah, I mean, it's just as we mentioned even before the race started, that it is a danger in this track, especially with a two pit stop. But nice of McDonald to give us a practical example of what can happen when it goes wrong.
What to do and what not to do. And yeah, but Scams is P16, so nice drive, and he has improved his consistency so much since joining the Sprints leagues. I think this is his third season, as we see a replay. Oh no, right on the track too. But oh no.
That is not a good recovery. And unfortunate little situation there. I think that was Venstall, if I'm not mistaken, so not ideal for him there. Scani is all over the back of Rowe here, definitely making that Lexus even bigger than it is.
Yeah, the clock is running down, but 7 minutes. I'd imagine he's gonna get the move done. It's just a matter of setting it up. So we see Doug Wilson in the 99 Porsche, and Babs and Gibbo still up in that sort of 5, 6 and 7 area on the track. So great drive by all of them as well.
I think the leaderboard is still updating because Babs would have served the 10-second penalty, and he is way ahead of Babnau now. And Babnau was not too far behind him before the pit stop. So
Right.
okay, now the leaderboard is up to date. That's very strange, unless Babnau had a rather crappy pit stop, which is entirely possible. But yeah, as we see the top 5 at the moment with about 6 minutes remaining. Matt Lamb in a class of his own. Robert Maddox has had a very solid race after starting in P6. He is currently running P2. Lachlan Nichols, same thing, started P7. He has gained 4 positions and is running P3 on the podium. Chris Stacey in P4, and Sean Miller after starting P2, currently running P5, sorry, P3. So, yeah, he's had a solid race.
I know because a couple weeks ago now at Paul Ricard it was the super sprint round, so maybe the points distribution is slightly different, but with Maddox in P2 now and Lamb in first, because Matty Lamb is P3 in terms of championship points and Maddox is it P2 or P1? P2. So yeah, there's a 14 gap between them at the moment, so they might be very close after this race. As we see, oh, Doug Wilson.
How did he save that? That is
wow,
a fantastic save.
Oh my goodness, that was a brown flag if I've ever seen one.
I really want to get a replay of the handwork there.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
We need to see the wheel inputs for that one. That was a hell of a save. Very, very well to keep it off the walls there. I don't think many drivers would have been able to sort of get that Porsche to behave as well as he did there. So we see the replay now. So he just gets a little bit of oversteer there, but he's fine.
That's just Porsche, I think.
Nothing
Window
major.
is closing now.
Very solid through there. I think the moment is coming up. Just carrying a bit too much speed, and then gets it on the grass, and whoop,
Oh, and you can tell he's on brake and throttle there, and that's why he's managed to keep it facing the right way. But man, that was pretty crossed up.
yeah, that was a pretty good save there, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think if I remember correctly, the point distribution used to be 150 for a win, 130 for second.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's changed for this season. Right, we're just looking at the leaderboard.
Yeah, with the 14 points between them, it'll be in the favour of Matty Lamb, I believe, if that is the case.
It should be. Ooh, Stacey with a big moment there into turn 1. He is piling the pressure on that Lambo of Lachlan Nichols, trying to get back on the podium after a couple of incidents. So hopefully for him, he can get something done. But Nichols has had a very solid race and certainly deserves that podium. We see the beautiful Ferrari 296 GT3 there.
Is that the one that's parked in Mill's driveway?
Such a good looking car. I mean, the old Ferrari 488 is not exactly the best looking GT3 car out there, but
Oh, I think it looks pretty good.
I mean, it looked pretty good many moons ago when the 488 came out, but it's a bit sort of dated at the moment.
And man, Stacey here is having a good look at Nichols. A little bit of a opposite lock there, but he catches it. But 3 minutes remaining, so that could equate to, depending on where Matt Lamb is, potentially for these guys another 2, I'd say 3 more laps. So running out of time for Stacey, and he goes off actually.
Yeah. Okay,
So
well, that's that over, and that means Miller moves up into P4 there. So I think Miller might be getting some pressure from Stacey behind him now in this last. I think it will be 2 more laps as Matt Lamb comes into the final sector. We have a little bit of a train here with Gibbo, and Michael Baber has a 10-second penalty. Again, that was cleared from the pit stop. I'm not sure what that is for.
yeah, I don't know.
Gibbo up now, and we get a replay here of Stacey and Nichols. Stacey gets on the loud pedal a little bit too early. Oh, and he puts it in the wall as well. That's gonna maybe balance out the damage from the.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for Stacey, it is near the end of the race, and it wouldn't although it wouldn't be a nice amount of damage, it's easily able to limp home with that much with just 2 to 3 laps left in the race. So
I think it will be 2 more laps. Matt Lamb is going through the hairpin now. There is 2 minutes remaining. So yeah, certainly 1 more lap after this. And everybody who is looking to make up positions is certainly running out of time to make it work. Whittaker here has had a bit of an uncharacteristic race for him. He's normally up near the point here. Struggled a little bit in qualifying as we saw, and not been able to really move forward in the race. Maybe just one of those tracks for him. I think we all have them. A bit of a bogey track that he just can't get it quite working as well as he does at other tracks.
yeah, and then if we finish the way we do, quite cool to see 3 different manufacturers on the podium. Manufacturers.
Aww, ooh, such a cute manufacturer. Yeah, no, but it is definitely cool.
With Lachlan Wickles and the Wambo, so.
I mean, there's 7 different manufacturers, 8 different manufacturers in the top 8, 9 manufacturers in the top 9. Freaking hell.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounding like Count Dracula, JP, as we see Gevo coming around.
Manufacturer.
And just 1 minute remains as Matty Lamb crosses the line, so this will be the final lap for Matt Lamb.
He's only managed a 22.8, so I'm sure he'll be gutted so far that he hasn't done 8.6. Maybe push on this final lap to get it done, as Whittaker is still piling the pressure onto Bob now. Bob now keeping his cool so far, so he can be 8, not really letting Whittaker get into his head. But let's get a bit of a poor exit there, stays on the inside, pushes Whittaker to the outside, make sure that he needs to make it work, and moves out. Try and go around the outside here. Not easy move to make work, but
Great
he's
racing.
doing his best. Ooh, putting that Ferrari
He
on the
gave
bumps
it
there is risky.
105% there and did a good job by just keeping it straight as well. So, I mean, he couldn't have done any more there other than potentially gone for the crisscross. But, I mean,
Yeah.
if Bub now parked it, it's GG either way. So that was a really good attempt.
Great racing by both of them.
You can only
Fantastic
do
defense by both
so
of them.
much in the Ferrari.
Yeah, no, I mean, putting it out there on the outside with those bumps there, that is very brave. See, Miller slows up to Nichols here as well. Miller really coming alive in this final couple of laps. And Matt Lamb is going to cross the line for what can be classified as a fairly easy win. He's
Yeah, I
about
think
30
that's fair to
seconds,
say.
30 seconds ahead of Maddox. So he didn't lap the whole field, so that is good for me.
Yeah.
But Maddox did everything he needed to do, had a pretty easy race after an exciting start, and we'll get that P2. But the battle for P3 is raging. We have Sean Miller right behind Nichols.
Yep, only a few more corners left, so will we see a bit of a lunge as we see Maddox crossing the line? So great drive, new season, new Robert Maddox by the looks of it, another great podium finish for him, so he'll be stoked about that one. As we see Nichols managing to hold off Muller coming around the second to last corner. Doesn't look like he's gonna be able to quite get the move done unless that Lambo slips out around the final corner, but the Lambo is very nice and planted, probably one of the nicer mid-engine cars to drive, so Nichols will take that final spot on the podium in the Lambo as he does a little celebratory swerve, and Muller in P4.
Yep, and fantastic race by Sean there. I mean, P4 is nothing to sneeze at either. Nichols did just enough to hold on to that P3. Michael Babb crosses the line in P5. Gibo in P6, and we see this little train of Bob now and Whittaker crossing in P8 and 9 with Brad McDonald in P10, but he will have to serve the 10-second penalty. Will cost him 1 position, as a couple of the drivers behind him also have to serve penalties towards the end of the race there.
Yeah, quite a few late race penalties by the looks of it, but all sort of around the same area of the pack. As we see Tom McDonald also with a 10-second penalty is making his way around the final corner in his number 8 Ferrari. So probably not where he would have liked to finish, but still a decent drive by T-Max. So he crosses the line.
But he does have that penalty, which I don't think will cost him any position on track necessarily.
So we see Lewis doing some donuts on the grass, who is +2 laps and doesn't really look to have any intention to make it to the finish line at this point. So he is just letting those rears have it right now.
Yeah, waiting for one of them to pop, but none so far.
Yeah, hasn't happened yet, but what a great race by Split Blue in the Simrigs Sprint Series, round 2 and off to Misano next week.
Yeah, no, fantastic racing all around. Couple of incidents, as we can see from the lit up Christmas tree there with the penalties, but it's bound to happen at a track that is this tight. And we wait for ACC to do ACC things and take over to the next session so we can get a final look at the results. But yeah, overall a pretty comfortable race for Matt Lamb after leading from the start. And we have
Green light. Go.
finally ticked over, and we get a last little look here at the results. Obviously, Matt Lamb in P1, Robert Maddox in P2, Lachlan Nichols in P3. Looking at the Pro-Ams, Sean Miller taking the win in the Pro-Ams with Sean Bubnow and Brad McDonald in P3. And in the AM class, we have Horsel, Stockton, and Lawrence on the podium, and Shards in a P1 in the silver class, taking the Grand Slam in the silver class there.
Yeah, well, that was a great round 2 at Brands Hatch, as we stated at the start of the race. Bit of a polarizing track, you either love it or you hate it, but great drive all around by Split Blue.
Yeah, no, fantastic driving by everybody involved. And yeah, we are about to be joined by Mr. Justin Tate, Ultimate Sacrifice. Welcome
fellas.
to the
Green
booth.
light. Give it a look.
Howdy,
Thank
howdy,
you.
how are we?
Very good.
I will be handing the baton or the microphone over to you, so have a great night both, and I'm sure Split Red will put on another great show for both of you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you for the call, Josh. It's fun as always, and see you next week.
Pleasure, see ya.
So I've been reliably informed that it is currently moist in the Split Red lobby, so for qualifying.
Oh, wow,
And
that is very moist.
that is rather moist, so that's certainly going to spice things up.
Very nice. Man, I love this Penrite car. This is cool. Oh, sorry, the Pertec car. My bad. Just got it wrong immediately, but that's okay.
It does have a cat on the top, so that's for the cat lovers out there. But yeah, so as you've just joined, we discussed it a little bit earlier, but your thoughts on Brands Hatch, yay or nay?
Right, it's just not the best racetrack for racing. I love tracks where you can pass easily, but I will say it's a great driving challenge. So I don't mind doing laps of it, but you can get stuck behind someone that's, you've got to be like within half a second to a second faster of someone to be able to get past them.
Yeah, it's pretty much my sentiments as well. But it is a fun track to race on in like GT4s or your M2s or some of the sort of slower cars where you can bang doors a little bit and race a little bit closer together, where the aero isn't quite as important as it is in these GT3 cars.
Yeah, definitely. The aero cars are pretty rough around this track. If I remember right, I think I drove an F3 here in iRacing as well, and that was brutally hard to really find anywhere to pass. Just getting stuck in that dirty air, trying to keep close enough around the corners because they're all medium speed corners.
Yeah, it's definitely the type of track where you pile pressure on and hope somebody makes a mistake, which based on the amount of slow cars around the track at the moment, yellow flags, that does happen. It is fairly easy to make a mistake, especially when it is as wet as it currently is in here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen 2 cars already revert back to the pits, and we've got some times coming in now, which is good to see. A lot of people have set a time and immediately pitted again, so probably not getting the tyre pressure / setup exactly right. I remember it being quite difficult to judge what you needed tyre pressure wise in the rain, as a lot of people don't really practice that hard for rain.
Yeah, it's quite tricky because you have sort of a baseline of usually when it's raining you go up by like 1.5 click on the same conditions, but then sometimes the track has dropped or the ambient is a little bit different, and there's so many things that influence it, so it's very, very difficult to get it quite right, as we see Chris Cooley in what is easily the ugliest livery in OR at the moment. Much livery, no wow. Certainly not one that we want to see on stream too often, but he is making his debut in OOR. He is a very, very
Hey, he
fast
just went
driver,
pole.
as he illustrates by going
Yeah.
in pole. But he is certainly a fantastic sprint driver, and I'm sure he'll be looking at making some
Wow.
inroads here as we see the sad
That-
Pepe.
That looks like he was on some sort of special medicine to make that one. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I'm all for showing your creativity, but there's limits. There's limits to how much you're allowed to show, and yeah, I think he's stepped over the limits. But as you see, Bechtel has taken back pole there. Look
We've
at
got-
the times at the top at the moment.
Yeah, I was about to say, 3 cars within 0.003 of a second. 2 cars exactly the same times. Missing and
Yep,
Briss.
and the weird thing is 2 of them are Nissans, which is
Yeah.
an unusual thing to see in the top half of a leaderboard.
If I remember right from when I raced Misson, he was very good in the wet, so look forward to
I
seeing
mean,
him
he's
do that
very
one.
good overall, and
Oh, yeah.
I think if he decided one day to release the meme and not just rhyme the car to his name, he would be very competitive if he got in a good car. But Nissan in the Nissan just sounds so good, so
It does.
you know it's worth the meme, and maybe someday Kunos will decide to give the GTR probably BOP, but I somehow doubt that.
There's, we currently have Briss, who's leading the championship on pole. Oh, as we got a little
And
touch.
that is
Whoops.
Giacomo into the back of, I think there was Mercer there, so stewards might be having a little look at that, and we hope to see some grid penalties there. Always tricky in these conditions. If you're one of those drivers who are a little bit more suited to the wet conditions and somebody ahead of you not quite as suited, it's very easy to run up the rear. And yeah, that was a prime example of that happening.
This looks like it's getting wetter. Oh man, as we see a car going off in the background there, trying to gather control as he's come out of the pits. Looked like a Lamborghini, I think. Couldn't quite tell who it was, but that was very crossed up out of turn 1 there. Parked on the inside now.
11, so that is Umar, the BMW.
BMW, sorry.
But yeah, it's certainly tricky conditions. This is a good way to set up an interesting race, because certain drivers might just, as you said, not get those fire attempts quite right, and maybe don't have a proper clean lap, and they qualify out of position. And given how difficult it is to overtake here, it makes it very tricky to make your way through the field.
And it can be quite a hard track to set. Well, we're seeing a lot of yellow flags, is what I was trying to say, and so therefore it might be quite hard to actually set a lap. You might be on an absolute belter, but then someone's spun in the middle of the track, or you got to be cautious because there's a car just off the side. Also, this rain seems to be getting worse, if you ask me. It really is raining hard, so I wonder if the times aren't going to get much faster at all. So we haven't really seen much moving around at the top there.
Yeah, it's not really changing much. I think we might see Chris Chang there move up a little bit. He's a very fast driver, made his debut last week. Oh, and yep, just those green, sort of green Astro on the exit there is wonderful when it's dry, but deadly when it's wet. So see the Honda coming in there as well. Gonna dip a wheel. No, he started losing it before he even dipped it. Just goes around.
Painted
As we see
surfaces
there.
are so slippery in the rain.
Yep. Chang has gone second clear at the top there, so that is a
Whoa.
fantastic lap from him.
Okay.
I mean, it's what you expect from SRO level drivers when they are doing SRO level driver things, basically.
That is very fast. I thought we were really competitive with everyone within about half a second in the top 8 or 9, and bang.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's track evolution or just him saying, well, not you guys, look at this. I guess we'll get a bit more of a realistic indication in the last couple of 5 minutes remaining in qualifying at the moment. Weitan here, he is up a second on his lap at the moment, so he either had a very crappy banker, or, as we are discussing, maybe the track is actually evolving a little bit as people are displacing a little bit of water, but you still see quite a few yellow flags every now and then.
And I don't know about you, but I always found in the rain in this game, 2, 3, 4 laps would be quite nice in the rain. It definitely wasn't you know, your first lap out that was going to be fast. So this is actually looking really good here. Nearly 1.6 up. Only a corner left.
Move up into that sort of, as we see Tsang improve by another 3 tenths. Let's see why Waitan is going to put this. He is going to put it into the 32, so he's going to move up into the top 5, I would say.
Third.
Top 3.
Well done.
Very nice lap there from him. Burst here with his NF Need for Speed inspired livery, which is really nicely done as well. We'll be looking to improve as well. Fantastic driver. And he's making this Nissan do things that it doesn't necessarily always do, the same as with Nissan as well. Good to see some drivers using the cars that aren't necessarily competitive and making them competitive.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of BMWs in this split. Seems like about a third of the cars end up being a BMW in this split, but it is cool to see other people try and have a bit of fun with some other cars or sticking to a car that they've fallen in love with.
Absolutely. As we saw there, Burst was flashing the car ahead of him. The car was on an invalid lap, but unfortunately didn't move out of the way, and Burst did end up invalidating. So he will have another 2 goes at it if he has enough fuel in the car. But you can see everybody we're ticking over to is improving on their laps. So it seems as though there is a little bit of track evolution happening, even though it appears to be raining rather heavily. And we see Sean Miller in chat. Great race there, mate. That was absolutely fantastic from qualifying through to the race, and same for Bradley as well, giving the Bentley a good old welcome back. Moment I think there, just or Topic Million, sorry, just having a bit of a moment there coming into the final sector, losing a tenth or so. Hopefully he's still able to improve it. It's so tight in that mid back, so you don't need to gain a lot to gain positions, but he has kept losing the sector.
Yeah, possibly losing a bit in the spray. It's a bit hard to pick your apexes when you're this close to a car. But he gets a good exit onto the main straight. Almost 3 tenths. As he gets a little bit of a wash there. That'll just gets into the 33. He's moves up to P13.
That's the benefit of using a bonnet cam, which is the best cam, is the spray doesn't affect you. So it's really a bit of a hack for the wet driving.
But isn't that cheating? Isn't that the argument?
No.
No.
That's
in
the end
the
of the
game,
argument.
it's available.
Exactly.
Yep.
See Brad Cook there, he is 1.2 seconds off the lead, but he's only about 4 tenths off of P2. So there's still a lot to gain for everybody in this top 10 at the moment. All you need is one good lap and you will gain 5, 6 or 7 positions.
And multiple yellow flags happening all over the track. But you seem to be sticking to people doing very well. Although
He's in the perfect position on track. I mean, he has nobody ahead of him, nobody behind him. So if he's not improving, he has nobody else to blame, which is of course a bit of a problem when you're a race car driver. But Mitchell Van Dyke, his ugly livery doesn't look as ugly after we've seen Cooley's livery. So yeah, this actually looks quite nice in comparison.
yeah,
But he is improving.
it's sort of just one of those bright standout ones. And in the rain, it's not quite as bad because it sort of gets covered up a bit.
Cooley is up 8 tenths, almost 9 tenths after a great exit there. So that's going to place him very, very close to Chang here if he can keep it together. But there's still quite a bit of the lap to go.
Wow.
Very
Rolling
long.
slide.
The Aston is a very strong car in the wet, but to put that lap together, he's still doing enough at the moment for that P2, but leading time as he comes into the end of the second sector. Regains a little bit there, 2 more corners to go. Can he nail this final sector? Gets a solid enough exit out of there, not gaining anything, not losing anything. Currently will be enough for P2. Can he get this final corner correct? Loses the 10th on the entry, regains it on the exit. That is going to be enough for P2. Is Burs and Tsang still on their laps? Misson with an opportunity to improve as well. A couple of cars still out on track. This is going to be an interesting finish to this qualifying session.
Chris doesn't go faster. Or, no, does, but doesn't quite go fast
Not
enough.
quite enough. Misson, he's up by 2 tenths.
Needs a little bit more.
loses it on the exit there. That's not going to be enough. He's going to stay in P4.
Yeah, good stuff. That was a good qualifying session from all the front boys. That was back and forth a little bit. Nice drift there. I miss him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Nissan. That's what you have to do, I guess. But yeah, that's. I thought Chang was just going to sort of stomp everybody, but good to see a couple of drivers getting close to him there towards the end.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Well, who's in second place? I've already forgotten. He's if you combine his theoretical lap time from where he lost to himself, I think he would have been really close. Like, if not fractionally faster. He made a couple of mistakes in a couple of corners in the middle as we've got the grid finished as the last driver across the line into P12.
Alright, we have some wet conditions.
Yeah, like Yuli
Watch out for
certainly
curbs
lost
and
about,
exit
what
and
was it,
limit
about
breaker.
3 tenths just in the sort of beginning of sector 2. So
Is it just
certainly
me
had
or
the lap in him.
the other front row on jacks? Like,
Yeah, it's
they're
crazy,
They're
this
up
track.
sideways.
And the race server is wet as well, so it'll be interesting if
Oh.
we can get a view at the weather forecast, whether it's going to be a full wet race or if there will be some changing conditions, because that always adds a nice little extra element of planning your strategy around those weather conditions. And it is going to dry out in about 10 minutes. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So who will be brave enough to take that gamble to start on the dry tires?
Oh, looks really wet though.
It certainly does, but the problem is, as we know with this weather forecast of ACC, that 10 minutes didn't necessarily start when the session ticked over.
Okay.
So you're losing another 3 minutes just from the session countdown. So there's the potential that it stopped raining on the outlap. And if you're on wets, then it means you're doing 2 or 3 laps before those tires are starting to balloon. Yeah, going to be interesting.
And
to
it
see
won't
who
count
makes
as
the
your
call.
mandatory stop, right? If you
It won't, no, because it's
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes.
So it's 5 minutes till the mandatory window's open, or is it what
Yes,
time is
correct.
it?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay. And was that 2 stops they were having to do? Is that correct today?
2
Or is it
stops,
what?
yep.
Yeah.
So 2 stops that you have to do from 55 to 5 minutes, basically. Space them out. You have to change tires on both stops. So no real point in sort of fueling up for the rest of the race and just doing a splash. Just run your fuel for your planned strategy.
Very cool.
Let's see how things play out here. I think we should take some bets if how many cars are going to start on the dries.
Well, I guess if you're a little bit further down the pack, that'd be the time to do it. For sure. I mean, that's, you know, if you feel you're a little bit out of position in a dry race, maybe you don't take the gamble. But if you feel like you are a bit further up or a bit further behind than you should be, they're the times to give it a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, if it theoretically, if it stops raining on the outlap, you're gonna have maybe 2 laps of a wet track, and it will maybe go to damp, 2 or 3 laps maximum. So whether you want to take that risk of surviving, it's a big call. But I mean, there might be somebody with the balls that's willing to take it. Based on the conditions, probably not. But
I
yeah,
reckon
let's see.
if the pit window was 10 minutes, 100%, you'd probably see a few cars doing it. But being 5 minutes or so, yeah, it has to only stay wet for, yeah, really 2 lap right before it before you run into the grief on those tires. And usually you can make a wet last a couple of laps, even if it is dry.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, I'm not saying that the rise is a good strat. I'm just saying it is a potential strat for somebody, especially somebody a little bit out of position or something who's looking to maybe gain something. But yeah, I mean, the point of the pit window sort of negates that a little bit. But yeah, anyway, as we start on our outlap here, see your grid is Chris Sang in P1 with Chris Bewley, the Chris's on the front row. Lucas Burrs, Sam Nissan, both Nissans on the second row. White Hand, Brad Cook, David Barker, Stefan Bechtel, Mikkel Van Dijk, and Chris Kempkins. Ryan's out the top. then. So you can see there, the white and a silver plate means he has not been classified yet, but based on his qualifying performance, I would say a white plate is not too far off in the distance with Bechtel, the lead pro-am there in P9.
Yeah, and we do see a bit of sprinkling of some of the amateur drivers sneaking up a little bit, like Skinner's a long way ahead of the next placed amateur driver. Obviously likes the wet weather conditions.
Yeah, and as you see, we don't have a safety car for the split at the moment, so we have a driver on debut and a driver in his second race in OR leading us away from the start with a sort of a little bit of a different start procedure to most races where we don't use the widget. So it'll be interesting to see if they can hopefully just maintain that speed correctly. See, Hewley is a little bit further back than he needs to be, should be side by side with Tang. But hopefully he doesn't get penalized for being out of position, and Tatey, he can take us away for the start of Split Red.
Alrighty, waiting for all the cars to come on to the main straight. It's pretty even at the front, it's a little bit staggered.
Go, go, go.
Cars are straight, green flags off as the Nissan in the second row gets a massive start of Briss. And swallowed back is Kiwi. Oh dear, I butchered his name already. Green flag still. Nothing too crazy happening. Everyone sorting themselves out in the mid pack. We've got a couple wide. Nothing too crazy happening. No two wides. The front 10 cars are all single file now, and everyone's sorting themselves out pretty clean. Well done. We do have a back marker, I think, that started from pit lane, but as we've got a little poke up the inside and then falling back. That's I'm lagging a little bit. Sorry, take over.
Yeah, no worries, mine lagged as well there, but it seems as though Tang has got a good start. Hewley was caught very much napping at the start there. It looked like he started in second gear almost based on the put away he got. So he dropped down to P4, but Burst with an absolute rocket start up into P2. Weitan gained 2 positions from the start as well. He played it really smartly through turn 1 there. Hewley looking to make his way back up into P3. Poking a nose up on the inside there at a bit of an unorthodox position. Manages to put it up at the right time there. But yeah, like you said, pretty clean lap. Only one straggler there, but that straggler is there by its own doing by starting from the pit lane.
Yeah, nice and clean by Split Red here. As the race is probably, it might even have less passing than the previous race. It's, I mean, this is tough conditions. It's going to be hard to stay close in those medium speed corners. But,
I think with the changing conditions, you might see the pit sort of strategy playing a bigger role as well. As we see Whitehand goes very, very deep there. Hewley up the inside, but Whitehand with a very strong exit. They should be able to stay coming to turn 3 there. Hewley smartly backs out of it, but does take a little bit of pressure from Missing behind him. But yeah, as I was saying, with the changing conditions, the pit strategy, especially in the first half of the race, is going to play a bigger role in terms of deciding when to park. And you get that timing a little bit wrong, you lose time on the outlap, you lose time on grain tires, and it could be a bad time for you throughout the whole middle center.
that's correct. And Nissan's looking very pacey. Sort of just driving nice tight lines, using all the track. Almost some extra there. It's really got over that curve. Used a little bit of grass. This pack's going to be central of some action, I think, for the race to come.
So a bit of an incident there. It looks as though Giacomin and 2 other drivers got involved in an incident at turn 4. A couple of slow yellow flags there. I think we can get a replay of that at some stage. But yeah, the 2 leaders, Tang and Burst, have just pissed off at the front. They are already almost 2.5 seconds clear. And Burst really putting some pressure on Tang at the front. Get a replay here. Giacomin together with a Honda and a Ferrari. Side by side, a little bit of a touch there, nothing too bad from that. Somebody missed their braking here. Yet, no, it's just an Audi.
No.
Just an Audi poking its nose where it didn't belong there, and unfortunately, turning 2 cars around, that is going to be a rather severe slap on the wrist, I would imagine.
Yeah, they were racing so well between the two of them as well. But that just happens. People get side by side, and the guy behind gets excited and tries to get in there.
Yeah, it's when the drivers ahead are going side by side and they have to sort of compromise their speed, and you think, I can poke a nose up in here, and then all of a sudden that door closes a lot quicker than you anticipated. So, yeah, one of those things that happens, unfortunately. But as we said, it's part of racing. But yeah, these guys are 4.3 seconds clear after what, 2 laps of racing. So they are just absolutely putting the hammer down, and nobody is able to keep up at the moment. Thank you, JC, for the 20 gifted members. All those lucky members with their freaking gift from JC there. If everybody can give him a standing ovation and a light tickle on the chin. Let's say chin. That's not. It wasn't what I was going to go for originally, but I'm sure he would appreciate a tickle either way. But
Yeah.
thank you, JC.
You can ask him later for where he wants these tickles.
Oh, I know, JC. I know where you like to go. But anyway, there is some racing going on. As we see another second pulled away at the lead here. These guys are just absolutely singing it. And I mean, Burrs is making that car do things that not a lot of people is able to do in a GTR. Hewley still piling the pressure on Waitan, not really breaking down yet.
That's correct, and they are the class leaders as well. I've just got the points up from last round to remind myself who was where, and Briss is in the lead by about 31 points, which isn't much because again they only had one round. But it is, those two seem to be a little bit head and shoulders above in these marginal conditions on this tricky track.
Yeah, of course. Getting some confirmation there that Waitan is a Filipino driver, so some Pinoy pride there from Game Bad Lad. See the first penalty roll in, a 15-second penalty for Jake Karlovsky, causing a collision on lap 2. Not sure exactly who that was. Hewley is really pushing to get past Waitan here. Waitan placing that car in all the right places, not really allowing Hewley any kind of a gap. But he is also really making that Aston seem about 3 cars behind Waitan at the moment.
He's all over the back. But just to make sure that we've got the right settings enabled. And wow, this does look like a little gaggle. Oh, as he's got a little bit crossed out wide on the curb there, but again covering off, diving deep under brake, almost too deep, but defending line for the next corner immediately from where he's positioned the car. So he's going deep where he can and running wide where he can as well. It's just it's probably slowing them up quite a bit doing this. Like it really is, I think.
This is really causing them quite a lot of pace that they're losing to the drivers ahead. Not only the drivers ahead, drivers behind.
Force it wide.
Going around the outside here in the wet. I mean, I'll pay good money to see if this works. Can he make it work?
He's trying.
Hewley with the big ball strat, he has got it done. That is one of the best moves I've seen in a very long time. Great driving by Waitan as well, giving him more than enough space there. Very safe driving by both of them. Now Waitan is under all kinds of pressure from Nissan, and the Nissan backs out of it. Luckily doesn't poke a nose up there, but Hewley will certainly be looking to get down the road. It's already a 9.6 second gap. Hewley is a fast driver. I don't think he's fast enough to close that gap.
Again, being marginal conditions though, really, sometimes you can be a second or two a lap faster just because you read the track a bit better. As it dries
Rain has
out.
stopped.
And we've got rain coming again in 30 minutes. So it's going to be a wet, dry, wet race. Wow.
And it should spice up the strategy. So now you're going to fuel up to make sure that you run towards the beginning of that rain, so you can maybe pop the wet tires on towards the end if they need it.
Look at this line of cars. This is a big freight train. You get that at these tracks where it's really hard to pass. That is such a cool looking car.
And that Castrol livery, I mean, I don't think McLaren has ever had a Castrol livery, but it works. I mean, it does suit any car really. It's such an iconic livery.
Yeah, it really reminds me of playing the PS2 or PS1 Gran Turismo, the Pikes Peak car, I think it was. That's what,
the Supra, the Tom Supra.
yeah, that Tom Supra is not. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
He is ahead of Chang, so Burrs has
Ooh.
overtaken Chang somehow. I'm not sure if Chang maybe had a moment or if Burrs just pulled some godly move on him, but the lead has exchanged hands. So be interesting to see if Chang can stick with him or whether Burrs is able to pull away.
Does have 4.5 tenths, so it's not really close. It wasn't a just get past. It was. Oh, it looks like it'll be a mistake. Oh, he's lost the back. Just did he lock the backs on the way in there? That's what it
Maybe
looked like.
braked a little bit late or something. They've locked up a little bit, but yep. Anyway, doesn't take much when the racing is that close up the front. It doesn't take a big mistake to lose the lead, and Burrs has taken full advantage. And look at the gap that Keely has already pulled on the guys behind. Missen has also managed to get past Waitan. And unfortunately for Waitan, he has a long queue of cars who are going to look at piling on the pressure for the remaining 50 minutes of this race.
Yep. Although every lap he leads in front of this group, he's securing himself extra spots as they are still pulling away from the mid pack. It would be a pretty rough time to pit right now, as the track's probably not dry enough for slicks yet. You want to try and get this window right, but I've got a feeling we're going to see all the cars in the same 2 to 3 laps.
Yeah, track has gone damp now, so it's not quite at the crossover point. You want to wait for at least a greasy track before you start thinking about slicks. And as we can see, that weather widget is going to be heavy rain towards the end of the race. So any thoughts of maybe sticking out that last couple of minutes on the dry tires doesn't appear to be a viable strategy based on what we see from the weather predictions. So yeah, certainly some spice going to be added towards the end of this race.
It's great that there's 2 mandatory pit stops. It looks like everyone's going to be running almost the same strategy. This would be a tough race if there was only 1 mandatory, but I mean, maybe it wouldn't be too hard with how wet this has been for the first 10 laps. I don't know how you would have gone with slicks. You'd be a long way behind.
Yeah, I don't think that would have worked. So, certainly it would have been the wrong call, all things being equal. But yeah, we were discussing it in the previous race, and we saw an incident as well of a driver pitting with a driver close behind not pitting and then having an incident. Following a driver into this pit lane is certainly going to be a fairly interesting experience, and given how many cars are probably going to stop on the same lap, this is going to be a pretty spicy pit window.
100%. There's a bit of action happening here between the Pro-Ams, the Porsche of Beachfold. Is it Beachfold or Beachfold? I can't tell whether it's a T or an F.
Bechtold.
Oh, Bechtold, sorry. Oh yeah, it's an EDA one. I'm dyslexic, so I love reading letters back to front. My brain just sees the letters and says what it thinks it is.
Yep, well, it was fairly close, but he's very German, so it has the heart.
Ah, yes. This is nicely driven by in the middle of the pack here. It was, that outside camera made me think there was a car in his rearview mirror coming up right behind him for some reason. Like literally the angle that it flew at, I just thought there was a car coming straight at the back of him. And I thought I hold my breath for half a second. Oh, there's someone coming in.
There's a couple of people. That's Johnson, Waitan, who else? Atkins are the first 3 to dive into the pit lane. I think they have done it a lap early, if I'm being honest. The track is still damp. Those wet tires are not going to be working properly in these conditions. Maybe pulling the trigger a little bit too early, but as you can see, Chang is ahead of Burrs again. So they have exchanged the lead, and we see Neighbor and Thomas here, teammates battling. So far, it seems pretty clean. A beautiful tic-tac livery designed by Pete Viney, Mr. Darkwin. Fantastic livery there for Pete Chalmers. But yeah, lead has exchanged hands again, and Keely has taken a little bit out of the gap. I think the battling going up at the front has helped him to close the gap down a bit, but I don't think he has enough pace to really catch up with them unless they keep battling for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's still over 9 seconds where it was almost 10, I think. So he's only really caught up a little bit. Those guys at the front are showing some serious pace, though.
Yeah, and they're exchanging fastest laps as well. As we get a replay here. Oh, Burrs just dips and wheel as he was braking and manages to keep it out of any sort of real drama, but allows Chang to get back through.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Like such a little mistake like that like that could end in absolute tears though, and he did such a good job just to keep it from pirouetting around and losing a lot more than just that half a second to a second that he ended up losing.
As we see Cooley, Cook and Ben Dyke dive into the pit lane as well. Track is still damp, so I would honestly say it's still too early for those dry tires, but let's see how it works out for them. And Waitan here. Who is the leading driver who has performed a pit stop at the moment? It is Luke Johnson. I think he had a better pit stop than Waitan and managed to jump him in the pit stops. Waitan lost about 3 seconds there, so a very poor pit stop, or maybe a poor outlap. Certainly poor outlap so far, based on what we just saw there. Here's a position for Atkins as well.
Yeah, whether what times Johnson is a fair bit behind the cars in front.
The lead runners were doing like 28s. To see what everybody else is able to do. You see the BMW behind of Omar dive into the pit lane. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say Andrew Skinner gets a 10-second penalty for being out of position as we've got the car round.
That is Bechtold parking in a place where you don't necessarily want to be parking.
I wonder if he just ran a bit wide or got a hand.
Look at the damage on the front of that car. I'm not sure he was doing it all by himself. We should be able to get a replay of that at some stage, but these two guys cannot be separated at the moment. Each of them have made their own little mistakes and lost the position again. But so far it seems as though they are pretty evenly matched on pace.
Yeah, they're really using all the track too. That was all that outer AstroTurf and some.
You don't want to go too wide there because it's fairly easy to get a warning there, and as we saw in a previous race, we did get one drive through for track limits. So it is doable here. Not that easy to get it done, but it is possible. Get a replay here of Bechtold. Oh no, he did it all by himself.
And then
Bulk. Okay, that's a fair chunk of damage on the old Porsche there.
That's really disappointing. He was in the top 5 or 6 too.
Unfortunately, that's the risk you take when you drive the Porsche, is it will randomly just murder you and your firstborn child. So it does happen.
Yep.
Track has gone greasy, so I think the guys in pit lane here, Missen and Barker, and I don't know who the BMW up ahead is, have maybe made the right call here.
There is definitely a dry line and a wet line though, so got to make sure you really stick to that dry line. So it'll be interesting to see who gets their car fired up fastest, if they can guess how much fuel they need to make it to the next.
That's the blue flag getting out of the way fairly effectively there.
Yep.
Certainly not wanting to affect the drivers behind him, and does very well. It's not necessarily the safest for your own tires, but well done nonetheless. And yeah, we can see here Barker, Cook. So, yeah, Tang, maybe Burrs made a little bit of a mistake there, dropped back a little bit there, but still within striking distance.
So Tang and Brist still haven't pitted.
Yep.
Could have been the time to do it, but they decided not to.
I think they're not too worried about the cars behind, to be honest, so they're just sort of maybe reacting to each other, waiting to see who blinks first.
I was going to say, I think, yeah, when you're trying to hold position or trying to jump someone, that one extra lap on the wets might be the bit that gets you ahead, because the lap's usually pretty slow, especially when it is greasy and you're trying to get that tyre up to temper. It's going to take that little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially when, as you said, that's not a great line through there for Brian Kong. He gets
good save
past Skinner. Well done there. Jack Karlovsky, he was the Audi involved in that earlier incident and has served his penalty. He's back in P25 at the moment. So these guys are still doing fastest laps. Let's see if Yuli, who was running in P3, can he answer on those dry tires. If he can go faster than them, I think it might be a signal for them to maybe do a pit stop.
I wonder how much traffic he's got on too. I don't think there is. He's got a pretty big gap in front of him actually. Well, look at that drift. Those tyres are going off in Brist's car. I think he'll.
I mean, it is a Need for Speed Underground livery, so you need to drift it. It's part of the clause, I think, when you want to use it.
Wow, that was backed in that whole way there. And we just held on. That's where he made his mistake earlier in the race too and got passed back again.
If you've watched any of his onboard laps and stuff like that, the amount of hand work and his it's just his reaction and his sort of prediction of what the car is going to do is absolutely insane to witness just how in tune he is with the car, even with the old brick he is driving at the moment.
Yeah, so it sort of drives a bit more like a go-kart sort of thing, just lots of steer this way, then that way, and then back again. The go-kart would stick guys with the down.
Yeah, I remember watching one of his hot laps in a Honda, I think it was at Silverstone, and it was just insane. Fastest lap there for Van Dijk in the McLaren. He is running a P9, so I think that's the indication that you would need, that the dry tires are now at the crossover point. Not by much. I mean, the last lap was 28.7 for these guys, or 28.9, so lost about a second to Van Dijk there. Be interesting to see what type of lap times Bewley is currently doing.
And they're coming up on that traffic too, so I would think that they would want to...
Bewley has made a mistake. He is behind Mrs. Cook and Barker at the moment.
Oh yeah, he is. He's had a little excursion, I'd say.
Previous lap was a 1:34, so he certainly took the scenic route at some stage. And Luca Giacomin has had an incident, it seems, in turn 2 or turn 1, and Bechtel was going slowly again as well. So a couple of drivers having some bad luck so far.
There we go. He's still always offline.
And just a little bit wide. Oh, that's going to be damage. Oh,
Ouch. That is not good. Oh, I'm missing. Yeah, good job avoiding. Oh, that's awkward.
okay.
But again, I don't know if he has to like let a car pass. He's alright. That doesn't look too healthy. It's hard to tell with all the crazy.
Yeah, no, it's much damage. So wow.
Much damage. Oh dear.
Okay, can we please see another car that doesn't have
He
a
wants to look at that.
5-year-old's imagination all over it? That would be fantastic.
No. This is the teenage I'm cool with my memes stage. He's like 13 to 15.
It strikes me more as the 40-year-old guy who tries to be the 13-year-old meme kid. But anyway, see, these two guys are still staying out, and yeah.
Maybe it's because Chris is catching him. He's going, no, I'm not catching you. I don't know, there's traffic in front. That's the thing I'm seeing. They're coming up in cars and they really want to get to it.
German, and we saw him being low at the exit of turn 1. Just go a little bit wide. Yep, dips a wheel and loops it. So
Stop. Good job. That was actually well done. He had the loop and then drove off the track.
Yeah, pretty uncharacteristic for him. I mean, he had a very poor qualifying session, and he is one of the fastest drivers we know. Oh, we need to put that together.
These guys are
look
going
at the speed.
2 seconds faster. Yeah, these guys have to pit or else they're going to lose that gap.
Oh, Chang stays out. That may have been a grave mistake from Chang there,
Let's see.
strategy-wise.
Now this is going to be a really important one, I guess.
I think you're going to see him miss him within sort of 7 or 6 seconds of the leaders at the moment.
Maybe even
That's-
closer. Like he's been going second, now 2 seconds lap faster. And it's going to be another lap he's going to have on saying there. Although we did see the closest driver.
I mean, the gap from Bewley to miss before the pit stop was about 3 seconds, maybe 2.5. German, after putting it in the wall, does a fastest lap, so it's pretty impressive.
Very pacey.
Bewley, very good.
Somehow no, he has to pit twice. I don't know why I'm suggesting that. I'm like, why is he trying to hang on for so long?
I'm not sure what the logic behind it is. It just doesn't. There's no reasonable idea I can think of that would make sense for him staying out this long. But
He's gone around again. Isn't
no,
it
he's
a
coming
bit
around the final
Oh,
corner now.
wait, sorry. Never mind.
Let's see if
Yeah.
he dives in. Surely.
does.
Yeah, he
Dives
dived.
in.
Okay. Yeah, Coyote, I mean, he has a bit of damage on the Aston. It doesn't appear to be affecting him too much. He's still piling the pressure onto Parker at the moment. But it will open up the question of whether it's worth repairing the damage or not.
Where is Briss? So, Briss is 9 seconds up on Listen. So,
Okay.
although, again, the lap tyres have got to come up to temperature. So, it's probably make it looks like lap 2 in.
But the benefit for us, and especially for Tsang as well, is their tires are going to be a lot less grained than those drivers behind them because they are using them on a better track surface right from the get-go. So, Tsang is still stationary, but is coming around the final corner. He is moving now, but he is fairly far down the pit lane.
Oh, yeah.
Buzz will have him here. It'd be very close though. No, he's
got
got
him.
him fairly comfortably.
Wow.
It's going to be about 2 seconds or so.
Oh, he's gone a bit deep there. He's still wide. Holy cow, that was a big slide there. He's got to be careful not to destroy his tyres. He's actually pretty a second race.
Yeah, I mean he's just gonna sprint away from this Misson is a very fast driver, but Burst is one of those sort of elite alien level drivers. I don't think Misson is going to really do much to that gap.
3 seconds. Just mistake there by Mr. Sang.
Hopefully he has the pace to catch back up and resume that battle for the lead. It was quite fascinating to watch the ding and dong as they made mistakes. And yeah, but unfortunately Chang has made a fairly big mistake in terms of strategy. Yuli with a great run. On the inside. Stream just froze a little bit, but they made it work. Gets the move done. Great driving by Barker there to allow the space, not force an incident to happen as Burst just immediately puts in the fastest lap. Almost 4 tenths quicker than I've seen from the previous fastest laps. So yeah, pace is certainly in the car, and he is gapping Sang even more at the moment.
So Sang trying to get those tyres to fire up. But again, I wonder whether he's got the tyres perfect because this weather is coming. Although that weather appears to have changed to light rain now, not heavy rain.
It started as light rain on the previous projection as well. It starts as light rain, and then although that might be a little shorter than shower, and then well, light rain, heavy rain, and then chaos. I don't know. This is just gonna be it's gonna be content is all I know.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very spicy. My prediction of everyone hitting at a similar time went out the windows. Those leaders ignored that. And I think they both were the last two to pit or close to the last two to pit.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much
Rain
last
is
one.
coming
Coming back
in
in 30. I don't think that's quite correct race control. I think it's a bit before that. But yeah, it'll be this. The drivers are in a fortunate position where they've already driven in the wet today, like in this race. So the changing conditions, the rain coming in, is not going to be too much of a shock to the system. It's usually when you start the race in a dry and then it rains towards the end, you don't know really what to expect from the car and stuff like that. So you have to figure it out on the fly. At least they have some experience today on this track, so it should not see too many incidents hopefully.
The 710 this lap, he is on a mission. He's got his car set up real nice. Race controls on the pit stop. Very good.
If I can share some this way, that would be appreciated as well. The second on Chang last lap or so. The Chang just hasn't gotten those tires quite up to 10 or worse, or just turned on the knob and the TPR is decided to show everybody what he's really made of.
Got a nice little battle here between the lanes already. So, action. through to 8. Love this section of the track. It's a good fun bit of challenge. Where's your favourite part of the track here, JB?
If I have to say, I would say sort of steep corner, just for the challenge. You know? 'Cause you have to be so committed on the power so early and just hope and pray that the car will hold, and usually it does. But I will say that the final corner is my least favorite part of the track. It's such a awkward exit. You feel like you got on the power at the right time and the car just keeps going straight into the sand trap and into a wall. But, yeah, it's interesting track.
Yeah, I'm agree with you there. It's hard to get it exactly right depending on the car. Some cars you get the traction control a little bit too much gas. Some cars you just plow understeer. Some cars are wanting to oversteer the whole way around. It's a really different balancing act depending on what you've driven. Quite challenging. By the way, just remind me which one's Heen Corner number wise?
Number-wise, it's like the third last corner.
Third last corner.
The uphill right
The
hand.
uphill right hander, yeah. That's it. That one, if I remember my league race last
We're halfway through.
I
Keep
came over
pushing.
when there was a car either side of the track with their noses on the track.
Yep, that would not be ideal.
It's a pretty hairy part of the track for sure. So I can understand why you find it quite exciting. It's nothing like coming around a corner and not being able to see what's more than about 100 or 200 meters ahead of you.
Yeah, my very first race in OR was here in the rookies, and I managed to qualify on pole and was sort of about 4 seconds in the lead, and had one of the worst pit stops that you've probably ever seen in ACC. So I lost about 9 seconds in the pit stops. Came out in P5, and then the second lap out of the pits, we were going down the back straight, and the car ahead of me just all of a sudden turned left, and as I looked ahead of me, there was a Bentley parked diagonally across the road, and we got fairly intimate, and I just absolutely destroyed the car. Steering angle bent at 90 degrees, and it was just the end of the race. But yeah, it was good fun. It's the problem with these narrow tracks is like a car react before you even have time to react. You're already in the accident. So yeah, I don't know. It's as you said before, great hot lap track, a bit of a crap race track to be fair.
Yeah, you can just get really undone with some unfortunate stuff here, whether that be some bad lap traffic or someone pitting and being a slow, or you pitting early and they're getting stuck in some traffic. It's just brutally hard if you don't get the right opportunity to pass. So it's all about strategy and doing fast laps here.
Yeah, so you have to be absolutely on the limit, but the limit is there's not much leeway when you go over it. There's grass and then there's death. And you see Missing there dealing with a blue flag car ahead. Gets out of the way quick enough there. That is Levi Adams. Hopefully he can get out of the way of the chasing cars as well. But yeah, I would say for me personally, Brands is my least favorite of the English tracks in the game. Oh, Adam, yeah, they closed the door there on QLE.
I would agree with that. It's pretty rough. But again, I appreciate what it is though. It's something different, and so having it is always a bit of fun. And it gives it definitely is a lot different to some of the rest tracks out there. That's for sure. Some more handly cars a chance. So.
Yeah, I mean it's like the cars that are massive in a straight line, like your Lexuses and stuff like that, they can stay ahead of cars that are probably a second a lap faster, just because there's really no corner where you can outbrake somebody or get an overtake done. So if you keep it clean in whichever car, you can still get a good result if you can manage to get a lap together in qualifying. But
as someone that played the F1 series, I know all too well about being stuck behind cars that are a second a lap slower than the and it's like going really getting close to another car on the right tracks in particular. I couldn't imagine why it could just be simplified. It could be a little bit more
I would say that, as I said earlier, GT4 around this car or around this track, or even the Porsche Cup. The Porsche Cup is a really fun car around here as well, with that lack of traction control and the spiciness out of the corners. So it's easier to get a run on people because it's so easy to get loose on the exit. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the GT3s are just a little bit too fast and aero dependent to really make for good racing around here.
Yeah, so I think Nissan's made a mistake somewhere, because he was closing that gap down to about 5 or 6 seconds, I think, to Sang in front, but now it's well over 10. It's 12 seconds, I think, I saw. Must have been a fairly big mistake. Yeah, it's 12 seconds now. Wasn't that? And actually Cook's right behind him, so in the Honda catching right up.
Mole, if we can turn Justin's mic up a little bit, apparently
Sorry.
he's a little bit low.
I can do that myself. How about that? Is that better?
Is that better, Mini Simeon?
Sorry about that.
I can hear you much clearer now as well. You sound like you're sitting directly next to me, which is nice.
Ah, awesome. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
I'd say I need another one of those iced coffees, Smug. So send it my way, please. Too many Haros. Yeah, the sugar crash is happening.
Yuli has closed right back up to Nissan and Cook here, so he's looking to get back on that podium, which he managed to dive off of himself. But yeah, interesting whether he'll be able to get past here. I don't think he will be able to without a penalty, or without a mistake, but maybe the strategy is going to come into play here. If he can keep it out of the wall, he might be able to get an undercut or an overcut done towards the end of the race.
Oh, we've got a car off in front. Doesn't seem that'll be too much in play. Just a little bit of full driving action or free lawn mowing. Pick your choice. Oh, he goes right over the curb again.
I mean, Lamborghini did just launch that off-road Hurricane, so maybe he's just like as the rain has started coming down.
Wow.
So, still 23 minutes remaining in the race. This is going to be an interesting one to decide who is diving in first. Really, with a very interesting line to the final corner there, somehow makes it work.
And the track got all the way to fast again, so it really came online. The drivers are going to really have to test their stuff. Oh, yeah, that rain's coming really quickly down.
Track is green.
It's already greasy. It's actually going to be pit. Everyone's going to pit by the end of this lap. I think that's just dropped 2 things in it, 2 corners.
So you have to kind of wait for the damp track for those sort of wet tires to really come into play. So these guys will be looking at those track conditions and wondering, will it change towards the end of the lap and get the timing right and they can absolutely nail it, or if I think the leaders are a little bit too far ahead, like Burrs is coming into the final sector now. I don't think he can viably pit yet. He'll have to stick it out for one more lap.
No, you just don't want to get it wrong. Although, again, you're sitting in the pit lane for a little bit there. Man, did that drop really fast, and the temperature dropped on the track by 3 or 4 degrees instantaneously as well. So,
but it's only light rain at the moment, so it'll take a lap or 2 for it to go all the way damp, and then you don't know exactly when that heavy rain is coming. So that could come sort of halfway through that extra lap that you maybe decided to stick it out. Is any of them diving in? No, everybody's staying out for the time being.
they don't look to be going too slow yet. As a penalty gets handed out, and a couple of penalties, sorry. Oh!
Brooke saves it, keeps it out the wall.
He was pointing at the wall there, but good save, good save.
So that's one free position for Cooley in his march back to the podium. So this rain is going to... Oh, Biz has gone off. Okay. Still clear of Tang. Oh, well clear of Tang. I mean, he's pulled such a big gap.
And this has actually dropped a long way back from Tang as well, so 15 seconds. So that gap at the front really extended. Really good.
Track is still greasy. I think the rain is gonna stop before the end of the race.
That was, I thought that was
Very
going to
well done.
bite. Yeah. Read the limit of his grip there very, very well.
Get a replay there. Oh, he was just a little bit wide. Also onto it nicely, nothing too dramatic about that. He dives into the pit, track has gone down. So that's a solid call there from him. Tang,
Oh, no.
again, I think he is making a mistake staying out.
Another
Oh,
lap
no,
too
wait.
much.
Track is dampened now, so this is
Oh.
usually the crossover point, but the rain has gone heavy, so that track is going to get wet fairly quickly. All these guys are staying out.
Yes, I was going to say this. All three of these guys deciding to just keep battling. Oh, so they got cars coming out of the pits as well. Everyone's wiggling around. Look at the aquaplaning and sliding.
Waitan is technically a lap down, but he is just putting a nose in there. That is quite unnecessary. Really affecting somebody else's race, but you know, it's one of those things that happen as Cooley goes very wide there. That track is very, very slippery.
He must be on brakes. He looks like he's going a lot faster. Or maybe is that why he's a lap down or something?
Yeah, because he's completed both his stops already. So
yeah. So he's pitted, and that's why he's wanting to get past, because he was racing with these guys at the start. So just look how much faster he is than missing. Zooming up behind him, and he's only just come out of the pits, like so. Look at that. So this would be smart just to let him by. He's not gonna. So what are our rules on unlapping yourself, especially when you're like a lot quicker, like wets compared to dries in the rain?
I mean, you can, as long as you do it safely. That's the main thing. But yeah, the car ahead obviously doesn't have to yield or anything like that. So Misson should dive into the pits. Why is he staying out? What is the logic? Julie as well. I'm confused. Color me confused. Oh, neighbor, that's not the.
Briss is gone all the way back to 6th.
No, but he's pitted already. He's pitted already.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain. I was just like, hang on, something's going really wrong here.
You know, he absolutely. I think he nailed the strategy here. He pitted at exactly the right time onto the wets. So,
he's probably going to win by 30 seconds or something ridiculous.
Yep, as we see him coming around the final corner, Chang is moving. So that gap is going to be. It looks as though Chang has closed the gap a little bit somehow. Maybe, not really too much.
It was about 8 or 9 seconds, so it's going to possibly blow out a little bit. He probably got some lap traffic, because if there was some cars still out there on the slicks, so all he needed to do was catch a car at the wrong time and lose 2 seconds on one corner.
He also had that incident where he went off as well, so that probably cost him another 3 or 4 seconds as well.
That's right, there's Misson's off the track. Oh, man, he is making this so hard for himself.
Sushi Roll Motorsports, it's a pretty epic name for a team, but yeah, I think him and Cooley may have gotten this call wrong. Yeah, Cooley is off in the background as well.
Yeah.
I'm not a master strategist. I mean, I'm in the vein of the Ferrari strategies, but I feel like these guys have gotten it wrong. Ooh, get off the curb.
It looks so hard to drive. Why isn't he
Please
still
box,
going?
please box. What are we doing, guys? what is happening? Is there something we don't know that they know, or?
I don't know. Like, it's 10 more minutes of this. Is he just trying to? Does he think he can get away with one stop or something and doesn't realize he has to do it?
No. I think Misson is trying to stick out the rain on these dries and then just pit for the dries. So, like the guys who pitted for the wet, maybe will need to pit for dries again. I don't think it should be necessary, but I think that may be the logic that they're going with.
I guess that's the strategy, but you're gonna lose probably 3 or 4 seconds a lap in this sort of wet. And if it's more than 2 or 3 laps, it's a lot of time to lose.
Yep, but it's the extra pit stop is what you're sort of.
He's missing the ideal strat. Thanks, race control.
I think they're gambling on that extra pit stop, but I don't think there's enough time for the track to dry out enough to justify pitting for dries again. So I think they've, well, cocked it up.
Yeah. I'm just sort of trying to take it all in. I'm trying to figure out who's where now. It's,
Yeah, two guys in the top 10 that haven't pitted. I mean, Misson is only 22 seconds ahead of Burrs, so unless it turns out that Burrs does an extra pit stop, will he dive in? Nope. So he's
Malik is
definitely...
willing him, absolutely willing him to go into the pits. It's,
I
Sang
mean,
was
it's a
really
brave
caught up.
call.
Yeah, it really is. Stop listening to the pit, but give him a drive-through.
Boo! Come on! This is awful.
Yeah.
I love it. I think Yuli has certainly sort of stuffed up the strategy as well a little bit here. He's lost quite a bit,
He sure has.
but I think he deserves it based on that livery, so I don't really feel too bad.
Perpetual punishment all season from you, I'd say.
Has Cooley gone for dries again? Or not? I don't think he's not looking particularly racy. I know he looks fine now. Maybe he's made a bit of a mistake there, but no, wait, no, he's still stocking it up.
Must be on dries. That's really struggling to hang on. As the gap at the lead, the theoretical lead, is
3 seconds.
3 seconds. So we are very, very close here.
His last lap was a 1:38. His last lap was a 1:32. So he's losing 6 seconds a lap at the moment, listen.
Wow.
And he has stayed out.
I
He's
think-
not stayed out because he's still coming around the second off corner, so... Okay, now, this is the question. Will he box, yay or nay? I'm gonna go nay.
I say he's staying to slicks. He wants to do that. Oh, he's coming in.
Boxing. Okay,
But I bet you he's
this-
going to put slicks on though. He's going to
Yeah,
put
but
slicks on.
it's just gonna ruin those tires. They're just not gonna work. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
This is hurting my brain.
Wait, it says 10 minutes to sunshine, so there is a god. It says race control. But
I think the rain is gonna stop within like the next maybe 5. Ooh, that's wide by Jacome, and I don't think he's keeping that on track. Yep, he's gone off. Oh, managed to keep it out of most of the damaging parts.
it's on there. And
So it's potentially going to stop raining in about, let's say, 5 minutes based on the timing. So you have 8 minutes. Ooh, drive through for Denzel White then. Causing a collision. There's your Pinoy Pride gamepad that. Whoa, that's not the line you want to take, Ackland, but manages to keep it out of the wall. So if it stops raining in about 5 minutes, let's say, potentially, okay, he's on wet tires. So whatever the idea was, I think he's
given up on it.
miscalculated it.
Yeah. I feel you have to put slicks on at that point, don't you? Don't you just have to commit to it 100%?
Yeah, you should, but I mean, if you are gonna commit to it 100%, then you stay out another 2 laps. I
Unless
guess.
you ran out of fuel, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's also possible. Either way, I feel like he didn't quite get the strategy call correct. If
No. Oh, I've got to drive through. That's that'll be for pitting, speeding in pit lane. Right.
no, that was for causing a collision on lap 28.
Oh, really?
We didn't see said collision, but it must have been a rather significant one. So yeah, Tsang keeping that gap. So it seems as though Tsang is just he's a unit in the wet. He just can't quite keep up with Burrs in the dry. That gap now almost under 3 seconds, so he's closing on him. Maybe Burrs got his tire pressures a little bit wrong, or maybe Tsang got them a little bit more right. Either way, he is closing the gap. And Brad Cook, by staying out of trouble and keeping it clean, and keeping it out of the wall when he nearly went in there, turn 2, has gotten up into P3 at the moment.
Look a little bit further down the pack. Marshall. And then along through turn 1, right up behind the Lamborghini.
That's Scotty Rockford, who is sitting P4 in the Pro-Am class at the moment.
Very good little battle.
It's a good livery as well on the Aston. With
Yeah,
the paint splash.
Just thinking the same thing myself. I thought that's quite tasteful. It's got the Octane all over the car. That's a good way to get yourself on stream, guys. Put our logos on. Michael will love showing off your car.
Front of Rockford's Lamborghini. It seems as though he has a little bit of damage. But I do. Ooh, that's. He has the active aero there on the front there.
Yep.
It's out of the way. That is full position, so I'm not sure if he's just sort of rolling over, but yeah, Rockford will take that with open arms. Moves up into P16.
Yep. Oh, what's that? Yeah, man, I was like, that didn't look like the ideal line.
So Marshall, who we are watching currently, is also one of those chads who races on a gamepad. I still don't know how these guys go so fast.
Wow.
Using a gamepad, but shout out to him as well.
Yeah, especially in the wet. That's got to be the hardest condition to use it in. It's just you want to feel what's going on with the car so much.
And the craziest thing is when you watch their sort of onboards with the wheel.
Oh,
nice drift into turn 1. He carried so much speed with that drift as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. He actually caught car in front. As we've got a replay.
Oh,
No.
Oh, Sheriff Omar says, good morning, wall, and yeah, that's a fair chunk of damage there. Listen, and Giacomin here fighting for position, but Giacomin does still have to stop.
Yeah, Missen's just walking away. Oh, which is disappointing actually, because he had a lot of pace, and I'm sad he's picked a bad strategy here.
Yeah, Giacomin is on the dry still, so he is sticking to that strategy.
Oh, he is. There we go. He still needs the pit then, right? Yep.
Yeah, he still has a pit stop, so I think he's gonna lose that. But yeah, I mean these dry tires, the wet tires can survive on a dry track for at least 10 minutes. That's not going to be a problem for them. They're going to be like 38 psi, but they can still survive.
Last, under 10 minutes to go. So it is nice to spread out, although there's still little battles happening like the one we're watching here.
If we can go back on board with Marshall just for a lap or so, just to see those inputs of the steering wheel. It's so funny to watch with the steering wheel, with the pad, how the wheel warps.
Yeah, it's nice and smooth on the input in. He's doing a good job. You see he's hitting the lock and then has to wiggle it on the way up. It's the release that gets hard. I'd almost be tempted to use the motion control in the controller to do it a bit better, lifting the controller. At least then we've got a little bit smoother input.
He seems to be really comfortable getting on the power and stuff like that, so not really affected by the erratic inputs. But no, it's really like I'm very impressed, and I also really don't want to do it at all at the same time. So
yeah, well, I said that during the 12 hour, you really don't want, if you really like an oversteery car, you do not want to be teamed up with a controller player, because they cannot have an oversteery car with their lack of ability to be smooth with the wheel.
yeah, I always wonder about how you set up the car then, you know, like with the steer ratios and stuff like that. I don't know if the gamepad lad is in chat there. So Michael, do you set up the car differently than like us and people on steering wheels would, or is it a different setup or similar kind of thing? Comment staying out, so he will have to pit on the next lap. I think he's running out of time for the pit window.
This see, will be the last chance to stop. Hopefully he does realise he has to pit. Unfortunately, it's going to send him a fair way back. So, by the way, the gap at the front was now 1.2 seconds, so Tony is still reeling in. Period.
Yeah, it's quite surprising. I mean, they were so equal in pace in that first stint into it, so my only sort of conclusion could be that maybe Burrs roasted his tires a little bit, or under pressure them or something, anticipating the drying track at the end, so they don't go as high. But yeah, but there we see Scrap now under 1 second to the lead. So Chang absolutely nailing this final stint so far.
I'm just wondering, do you think maybe he got a little bit of damage or something from going off the track, if that's possible? Is that possible in this game?
No, not from just driving off track. You have to hit something.
Okay. Bumps
So,
on the side of the road aren't savage enough to do that?
not that I've ever seen, and I've been off track many times. So
Okay. Just double checking. I mean, I've wrecked a splitter or two in my real life career just driving off the track, so it is something that is very possible.
yeah, no, I think it's maybe just a little bit too tricky to actually simulate it. Let's see if Jack Lohman is aware of the pit stop rule. He is. He dives into the pits. Then he will be popping some more dry tires on, I think.
Why not?
I mean, he's already screwed the race, so he might as well just continue. So it looks like our gap is back up over a second. So hopefully Tang can close it up and we can have a bit of a battle towards the end of the race here. See Misson here in P6. He is still recovering from that Ferrari strategy call. Right on the back of Ben Dyke for that P5. So a question from Benjamin Wright in chat earlier asking, where has this pace from Ben Dyke come from this week? I think it must be because Yuli's livery is uglier than his. So he can't rely on getting on stream just based on the ugly livery. He actually has to drive well.
JP can't curse in this match, that's why.
Yeah, like his livery it actually looked nice this week in comparison. So yeah, I can't shit all over him, unfortunately.
Oh, Misson, really looking for a way past here. Nice and close, just shoving his headlights everywhere. Just very
Right.
smooth.
Trying to get Van Dyke to compromise the line through there, not really getting it done. Oh, around the outside in the wet. Do it, Sam. Do it. This will be an absolute tonker of a move. He can get it done. He manages to keep around the outside, but that will still give him the outside for the hairpin. Though he just looks as though he has a special set of tires on there. He looks like he has so much more grip than Van Dyke.
Oh, wow.
What an absolute fantastic move there.
That was nice. Yeah, good driving, both drivers again. We really do have a lot of class overtaking. Everyone's really getting the hang of racing together in OOR. It's making me want to drive again. Unfortunately, I would have missed the last couple of rounds this season though, so yeah, I couldn't race this one.
As you see that Cooley has dropped to P10 as they are being lapped by the leaders at the moment here. Oh! That was... He reacted before the car even reacted there, so that was fantastic driving there by Tang. Getting held up a little bit here by Brian Kong for Lucas Burst. Not ideal for him. See Cooley behind as well, under tons of pressure from Taufik. So a couple of little battles throughout the whole track there. Be interesting to see. It's only about 2 laps, maybe 3 laps remaining if Misson can do anything about that gap to go up to Barker ahead of him.
This is very close. Actually, Burrs has done quite a good job to just keep that gap going. Like it keeps expanding back out again. Obviously, it's hard to stay very close for just the same.
Rain has stopped now. Stopped a while ago, I guess, but yeah, track is only damp at the moment. So yeah, whoever had that idea of getting the dries on for the final stint definitely miscalculated.
Yeah, how about I think we'll just let Mr. Briss do the strategy because he has seemed to have nailed it, coming in and leaving pretty much on the perfect time. I'd say he did stay a little bit too long, but he did it better than the person who he was racing. So
yeah,
perfect.
So, 2 more laps remaining. Can Tang get anything done here? He's not really looked particularly threatening. He's fast enough to keep with him, but not really poking a nose anywhere or anything like that at this stage. So, think Burrs just needs to keep it on track for 2 more laps, and he should be able to secure another win.
We will get some more lap traffic. It's probably not going to get in the way though. It is coming up on the straight. Great driving to let past the leaders.
He's let one pass. I think one of them is gonna get stuck. That's a bit
no.
unfortunate there for Tsang.
Yeah.
That's definitely gonna put end to any real chance he had at getting anything done, unfortunately.
Yeah. Losing another 6/10 right just there. But again, there's still maybe one more car to get past on the last lap, so it can come back in his favour. Unfortunately, though, people generally notice the lead driver coming through. It's either it's 50-50 actually. I've found get the first car coming through, everyone realizes that the leader's coming through, or people don't realize the leader's coming through, and then they realize once the leader's gone past and start letting everyone pass.
Yeah, it's been my experience that the leader gets held up, and then they realize, oh shit, the lead pack is coming through, and then everybody behind the leader just sort of gets a red carpet, and they get through immediately. So hopefully that's not the case for Burrs as they start their final lap. Denzel Whiteline, he started this race really strongly. Came undone a little bit with some penalties and stuff like that, but he is back up into the top 10. Cooley
Some dries.
as well on the tries. He's made a fair few mistakes today, including that livery. But yeah, welcome to OOR, I would say.
Yeah. He's seriously, I was really impressed with the first half of his race, but unfortunately this second bit of brain has not gone his way at all.
It looks as though Burrs, I think he's done enough. There's a couple. Ooh, that's almost a little bit too wide. I know you need to use all of that track, but it looked like he was dipping it into the grass there, but manages to keep it safe. Only 2 more corners to navigate. I don't think the blue flag car is going to affect them. Johnson just ahead of them. He's running P20 as Lucas Burrs comes around the final corner. He will take another win in the Simrigs Sprint Series. He has absolutely judged this to perfection in terms of strategy. Showed the pace all day long. Stay ahead of this man, Chris Tang, who takes P2, followed quite a long way behind by Brad Cook, who he's kept his nose out of trouble and managed to stay drama-free and secure for now.
There's a
Unless
car
he...
parked. Oh, yeah, he's turned a bit, sorry.
Sorry, no, I think it was Bechtold who has had a bit of a second-hand day today. But yeah, Brad Cook, good race from him. We saw one big moment where he kept it out of the wall. And Moritz Wagner-Nielsen got reimbursed. That is awful. Can somebody please ban him? Brad Cook, 1 more corner to go. He is 2 seconds ahead of Barker, so no pressure from behind. He will take a podium in the PerTech Honda NSX, followed by David Barker and Samuelson. Unfortunate for him, he did close that gap to Barker a little bit towards the end there, but just got the strategy call. I want to say a little bit wrong, but that seems generous. Ben Dyke crosses in P6. Connor Atkins, P7, good result for him as well. Lead Pro-Am driver takes the win in Pro-Am class. And Pete Chalmers will take P2 in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, really good driving by everyone. There wasn't too many major mistakes. The split, they've done a pretty good job. Again, probably more just the strategy calls and mostly from missing. Poor guy. It's I can't believe he only finished 3 or 4 seconds off of 3rd place with spending 10 laps too many on the wrong tire. Like, he would be much closer to the leaders, probably 20 or 30 seconds up the road if he had the right strategy there.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of the 5 bad strategy calls that we saw, he made 4 of them. So just really a bit of an oopsie, but no, it's actually a much cleaner race than we saw from Split Blue as well. A lot less penalties, which is one of the things you normally see in these wet conditions. People just sort of dial it back a little bit. They're a little bit more careful, and yeah, not really too many incidents to speak of. Last couple of cars are coming into the pit lane. Okay. these guys have finished their race, so it's only really Omar and Bechtold, who's already in pits, who needs to finish. So we are waiting for this rather second-hand M4 who is trundling along.
He must have slapped the wall pretty hard again, I'd say. Or when you're out of fuel, the car goes off, right? It doesn't do the limp.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does
so-
look like he's in 6th gear for some reason. So I'm no pressure, mate. It's not like everybody's just watching you at the moment. He certainly had a bit of an exciting day. Still manages to finish what P16, so not a bad result, all things considered.
Oh, you got reset.
There we go.
Line, go, go, go.
And yeah, we will be able to get a final tally of the results from Split Red. We have Lucas Burst taking the win and the fastest lap, Chris Sang in P2 with Brad Cook in P3. In the Pro-Am class, we have Connor Atkins taking the win, Pete Chalmers taking P2 and Brian Kong in P3. And finally in the Am class, we have Skinner, Williamson and Putra. Still the class, quite a few drivers in there. We have Waitan, Omar and Skinner. Most of these drivers will be classed probably by next week, and they will not be competing in the silver class anymore. So that was certainly some good racing, and I guess the only question is, who's your driver of the day?
It's. I'm gonna give it to third place. I think third, considering the only one mistake, everyone had multiple mistakes. The leaders both fell off, first and second, both fell off, let each other pass, didn't pit at the right times. They could have finished a lot further ahead, but the Penrite, no, not Penrite, I did it again. Pertec car was did a lovely job of keeping to a good strategy and only making, like I said, that one mistake that we caught, but he saved it and it didn't cost him too much, and finishing third I think is quite strong.
Yeah, no, I can certainly agree with that. He had a drama-free race and made the right strategy calls and had good enough pace to stabilize his position there, and yeah, just good racing overall. But yeah, that's going to be it for us for Sprint Series here in Octane Online Racing. Don't forget to tune in later if you are in the European region, and also a couple of hours after that, the North American region. Next week we are off to Mazzano for a 90-minute mini enduro. Don't forget to tune in for that. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, chat, and thank you, Justin. It's been fun.
Thanks, JP. Thank you, Malik. Thanks, chat. See you next week.
See you next week. Cheers, guys.